Today, attendees will have the opportunity to get their compliance questions answered, learn about best practices, and receive expert guidance from our team of experts. I'm Lakeisha Tates, the admin manager, who will be presenting the virtual technical assistance training for pre-award services. We really appreciate you all being able to join the virtual technical assistance training online today. If you have questions, please put all questions in the chat box and they will be answered at the end of each presentation. So we can provide you an even better experience, we are collecting feedback on how we perform in our presentations. So at the end of each presentation, we will provide a link to the survey in the chat box. So our division contact information: Kanisha London is the Deputy Director for Housing Community Development Department, our Compliance and Grants Administration Division. Crystal Boyce is the Division Manager that oversees pre-award, MWSBE Section 3, Payer Play, Community Involvement. So I'll be presenting the pre-award services technical assistance training. Time is from 8:30 to 9:20. Then after me, we have a special guest that will provide some additional information before we proceed with our Section 3 presentation at 9:30. As the administration manager for the pre-award services, I am very passionate about contract compliance and committed to ensure that all representatives fully understand our program rules and compliance expectations on housing community development projects. If you have any questions or concerns regarding pre-award services compliance requirements, you can email me at lakeisha.tates@houstontx.gov or contact me by phone at 832-394-6345. My information will be provided to you in the chat box as well. So we'll get started. For some of you who are not very familiar with pre-award services, they'll say, what is pre-award services? Pre-award services actually lays the foundation for compliance at the earliest phase of the project by effectively reviewing your solicitation language, ensuring your contract documents meet compliance requirements, review and approve required compliance documents such as your MWSB participation plan, Section 3, and your payer play required documents. This will maximize performance and minimize risk on HCD projects. I primarily be the point of contact with the developer, the prime contractor, general contractor, to ensure compliance is achieved. We want it to be proactive, progressive, to ensure that all parties are well versed and able to implement program requirements prior to the start of work. Some of the benefits with having pre-awards being involved is that the contracting party will receive detailed guidance on applicable programs to prevent any project delays and non-compliance. We will request a cost allocation from the owner, developer, prime contractor, and that will identify the budget costs that will be evaluated for MWSB and Section 3, as well as payer play requirements. If the project is subject to Section 3 or MWSBE, we will have contract employment and training opportunities designated to our local businesses and workers to help the contractors achieve those numerical goals for applicable programs. So the program overview for pre-award services. I will be effectively reviewing your solicitation, your contracts, approving the MWSBE Section 3 and payer play requirements. So in this presentation, I'll give you a wealth of information on what you should be submitting and what the expectations you should be looking for as it relates if you have a project that is subject to MWSBE Section 3 or payer play requirements. In regards to the MWBE prime participation, previously we were using a 34% on our construction projects. That was a citywide aspirational goal. So for new projects, the City of Houston has a policy change in regards to the MWSBE. The city will now allow MWBE primes to self-perform up to 50% of the total contract goal. So on any of our new solicitation that was advertised after February the 2nd, 2023, any solicitation that went out, whether you're NOFAs or anything like that, you will be able to utilize a certified MWBE prime to self-perform up to 50%. On the older solicitation, if your NOFA or project was advertised with a 34% for construction, then we would have to adhere to the old policy So keep in mind, if your project was subject under the new policy, that if the MWBE Prime is going to self-perform, they will have to choose what goal they would like to receive credit for on the construction project. It would have to either go toward the MBE or the WBE goal. And once you select that goal type, then the prime participation will be capped at the proposed percentage or the approved goal, whichever one is lower. So moving forward, some of our new NOFAs that was advertised have, instead of using the citywide aspirational goals, we have new categorical goals for our similar projects that's awarded and construction projects for multifamily, public facilities, and single family. So some of your projects that if it was awarded under our new NOFAs that's been advertised for multifamily, we have a 35% MWBE goal. That means 30 MBE and 8% WBE. On public facility construction projects, we have a 35% goal, 26 and 9. And then for single family, we have a 21% MBE and 8% WBE. Now, if your project is subject to MWSBE goal requirements, then the selected general contractor, prime contractor will be responsible for submitting a MWSB participation plan along with letters of intent. And we're looking forward to receiving the document 470, which is referenced as the MWSB participation plan. And then documents 471 and 472 will be required if your plan does not meet the approved goals. To achieve your goals, you want to make sure that all firms are certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. You want to make sure that the MBE and the WB goals, those are two separate goals that must be met individually. So if your goal is 34% and your MBE is 23 and your WBE is 11, you need to make sure that you demonstrate good faith efforts to meeting the 23% MBE and the 11% WBE for the overall total of 34%. You want to make sure only 4% SBE can be substituted to meet the MBE and or WBE goal, but both of them cannot get 4%. You want to make sure if you're under the new policy and that you're going to have a MWBE prime, count self-performs of 50%, you want to make sure that that prime is performing a commercial useful function and that they're also certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. You want to make sure that when you're completing your MWB participation plan, that you're completing it entirely and signing the document, and that it's accompanied with the signed letters of intent. So in the event that your MWBE participation plan does not demonstrate meeting the approved MWBE goal, instead of submitting the 470 with the signed letters of intent, you'll have to submit the 470, the 471, and the 472 if your participation plan fails to meet the approved MWBE goal. So this is what a copy of the MWSB participation plan looks like that is referred to as the document 470. This participation plan is going to capture the commitment to achieve the approved goal on your contract. It's going to help me determine whether the contractor actually have a plan to actually meet the goal. And like I said, you'll submit this MWB participation plan along with the signed letter of intent. In the event that you do not demonstrate meeting the contract goal on your MWSB participation plan, then this is document the 471, which is the pre-bid good faith efforts. This will allow the contractor to document your good faith efforts to meet that advertised MWBE goal. It will allow the administrative department to see what efforts were made with you locating MWSBE firms. You want to make sure that this form is completed entirely and signed, and that you want to make sure that you're providing support and documentation for your good faith effort. This will be the third document, the document 472, which is the contractor deviation goal request. This form is going to explain two things. Why was the contractor unable to meet the MWBE goal, and what good faith efforts the contractor made that were not captured on your 471, and then you'll provide additional justification. You'll complete this entirely and sign it. This is a copy of what the MWSBE letter of intent that must be accompanied with your MWSB participation plan. You want to make sure that this letter of intent is filled out correctly, that you're including the bid amount, which the bid amount is provided to you because it's based, that's what the MWBE goal is based on. And it's your direct construction amount from whatever City of Houston funding was approved for this particular project. You want to make sure that your letter of intent include the estimated amount or the percentage, and it should match the exact percentage that you listed on your MWSBE participation plan. So you want to make sure both of those numbers coexist with each other. You want to make sure that the prime contractor and the certified MWBE subcontractor or supplier signs the letter of intent. So this is just an example of what an MWSBE participation plan looks like. At the top, you want to make sure under your MBE and your WBE that you have the approved goals that should be included. You want to make sure that your NAICS codes are included for whatever certified firm that you're going to be utilizing and list their percentage. We will provide copies of the slide, the presentations, and the recordings will be provided on our website. You want to give us 7 to 10 business days after our communication section has reviewed the presentation and the recording, and we'll provide it to all attendees. It'll be on the website. You want to make sure when you're completing your MWSB participation plan, you're listing them for one certification type only. Even though some of your certified subcontractors or suppliers may be certified as an MWBE, WBE, and an SBE, you want to make sure that you're only selecting the appropriate certification type that's going to go toward the goal. So if they're certified in 3 different categories, you only want to select MWBE if you're going to be utilizing them to meet your MWBE goal, or WBE if you're going to be utilizing them to meet your WB goal, or select SBE if you're going to be substituting them for your MBE or WBE. You want to make sure you visit the City of Houston online directory to ensure that you're getting the correct NAICS code, the correct business description from them, and ensuring that any certified subcontractor or supplier you're listing on your participation plan is actually certified. At the bottom of your participation plan, you want to calculate what percentage you have listed for MBE firms as well as WBE firms. And if you're going to substitute any SBE, you want to make sure that you put that amount for SBE. And I want to encourage you that SBE is capped at 4%. So if you put anything other than 4% on there, you're going to be held to whatever percentage you put for SBE, and that goes for MBE or WBE. So you want to make sure when you're completing your MWSB participation plan that you're meeting the minimum goal requirements. So if your goal is 34%, you want to make sure the breakdown is 23 and 11. You want to just list the minimum, because if you list anything that exceeds the minimum, you will be required to adhere. That will be your goal. That will be your approved goal once I have approved this MWSB participation plan. So when calculating the MWSB participation plan, which the goal is 34%, you want to make sure that the breakdown is 23% MBE and 11% WBE. These are 2 separate goals that must be met individually. So on this participation plan, the contractor decided to substitute 4% to meet the MBE goal. On the MBE, they have 19%. So they put the 4% SBE to get to 23%. The WBE, they had 11% listed. So I'm going to take the 11% plus the 23%, and it equals 34%. So does this MWB participation plan meet the minimum goal requirement? Yes, it does. So we want to make sure that you're completing it, appropriately, and making sure that it's signed. So when I'm assessing your participation plan, I look forward to ensuring that the plan is accompanied with your signed letter of intent, that each certified subcontractor supplier has signed the document, and that the plan actually demonstrates meeting the minimum goal requirements, in order for me to approve the plan. Once your participation plan and letters of intent have been submitted and I have reviewed it and evaluated it and they have been approved, you will receive an approval email to all of the parties involved, recommending to proceed with project activities such as a pre-construction meeting of those natures. If in the event that they submit an MWB participation plan and it fails to meet those minimum goal requirements, you will receive a notification that your plan failed to meet MWB goal requirements. I'll list why it failed, and then it will have to be forwarded over to the Office of Business Opportunity, because that is the administrative department with the City of Houston that reviews good faith efforts or participation plans that fail to meet the minimum goal requirements. So I will have to forward that over. I'll require you to complete the 470 and the 472. I'll ask for a copy of your scope of work any additional information you have to support why you failed to meet the advertised MWBE goal. Typically, when Office of Business Opportunity reviews participation plans that does not meet the goal, or participation plans where they have good faith efforts, they typically take 7 to 10 business days, provided that all information is submitted to them. At that time, pre-award services, we are excluded in the evaluation of a non-responsive MWBE participation plan that was submitted to Office of Business Opportunity. Once Office of Business Opportunity reviews it and make their recommendation, they'll provide their recommendation to our office, and then we'll be able to move forward with project activity. So we'll get into section 3. So in this project, if your project is subject to HUD Section 3, then pre-award services will require the developer, the prime contractor, the general contractor to complete and submit a compliant Section 3 participation plan along with signed Section 3 letters of intent to my attention for review and approval. Section 3 numerical goals are for any contractor with contracts in excess of $100,000 are required to meet the numerical goal requirements. Compliance with goal requirements can only be achieved by subcontracting with certified Section 3 business concerns and employing Section 3 workers. So if your project is subject to HUD Section 3 requirements, that will be contracted and employment goal requirements with Section 3. You will also, if there are any new contracted opportunities, you'll be required to complete an eBid announcement. As well, if there are any new employment opportunities, you'll be required to complete an employment opportunity announcement. I'll go further into details about the eBid and employment opportunity announcements further down in the slide. So with the Section 3 numerical goal, we have the contracting goals, which is the 3% soft cost. So if you require professional service that are non-construction related, then you will be expected that 3% of your non-construction soft cost budget should be awarded to Section 3 businesses. Your 10% hard cost goal will be 10% of your total direct construction budget should be awarded to Section 3 certified businesses. And then we have a 25% Section 3 worker benchmark. That means 25% more of the total labor hours should be performed by Section 3 workers, with 5% being performed by target Section 3 workers. So this is what a copy of the Section 3 participation plan looks like. The contractor will complete the information section. They will review the Section 3 requirements regarding Section 3 hiring and subcontracting. It's a section on there that at this time you don't have a need to hire anyone. You'll select you don't have a need to hire anyone. That will suffice for that area. Then you'll move on to the hiring requirements. If you're not going to hire anything, then you'll make sure you complete that with 0, fill out the bottom with 0. And then for your participation plan with the subcontracting, you want to make sure this is where you'll list for your construction. So the first part of your contracting, you'll list any certified Section 3 business concerns that you're going to utilize to meet the 10% hard cost. And then the next section you'll fill out for the 3% soft cost. Now this is a copy of your Section 3 letter of intent. So unfortunately, Deanna, that's you cannot do that. If you're going to use a subcontractor, it has to be for MBE or WBE. You can't source sub out a portion of it. You won't be able to receive credit. You will only be able to receive credit for MBE or WBE. But if they're certified for both, you cannot receive credit if you're using them for different scopes. So whatever, if you have an MWBE and they can perform plumbing, electrical, that's fine if they're certified as an MWBE. But if you want to use them for plumbing for MBE and electrical for WBE, you can't do it. They have to, their worker description has to be under each certification type that you're going to use them for gold credit. So when I'm assessing the Section 3 participation plan, I'm looking for you to complete the Section 3 participation plan, demonstrate meeting the numerical goal requirements, have the signed letters of intent included that list every Section 3 certified business concern to achieve your goal. You want to make sure that it's signed. You want to make sure the GC and the certified Section 3 business concerns are signing the Section 3 letters of intent. And you want to make sure that your participation plan demonstrates meeting good faith efforts to meet those contracting and employment goals. If your plan is approved, then you'll receive a notification to move forward with project activities. In the event that your plan is not approved and it does not demonstrate good faith efforts, you will be allowed to revise your plan. If you feel that you did not meet your Section 3 participation plan because for whatever reason, then I will tell you to make sure that you have acceptable good faith efforts to ensure that that your plan failed to meet it. However, we will not waive any Section 3 goals, but if you have acceptable good faith efforts, I will review those good faith efforts and see if they are acceptable to allow us to move forward with project activities. But throughout the duration of the project, you still will be required to adhere to those Section 3 employment and contracting goal requirements. So when assessing, we want to make sure that you have good faith efforts, you're meeting the advertised goal. Once you have a plan, if it needs to be revised, I'll allow you to cure that plan within 7 business days. And then once that cure plan has been submitted and approved, then I can recommend to proceed with project activities. So we'll get to the EBID announcements. With the EBID announcements, if the project is subject to Section 3 HUD requirements, then an EBID announcement must be submitted to my attention for review and approval at the earliest phase of the project. So contractors, the prime contractors or the developers, they're looking for a general contractor, or the general contractor looking for subcontractors, then they are required to submit an EBID announcement that lists the scope of work, the minimum classifications, include the contact information, and a bid due date must be a minimum of 2 weeks. They will send it to my attention. I will distribute it out to the Section 3 business directory. And if the project is subject to MWBE requirements, I'll submit the EBID announcement to the certified City of Houston directory too, to help meet those numerical goal requirements. So this is just what a copy of the Section 3 EBID announcement looks like. You want to put the date, make sure the bid due date is for 2 weeks. You want to list the name of your firm, address. You want to list the summary of work that you have available. You want to make sure you have a contact name and number and email, because a lot of times we have a lot of subcontractors that have questions, concerns about specifications and different things like that. And we want to make sure that the owner or the general contractor is able to answer those questions and concerns and give that subcontractor additional information that they're requesting. So you want to make sure, as it relates to the Section 3 requirements, once you submit that EBID announcement, we set it out for 2 weeks. 7 days after that due date has ended, we're going to be looking for you to submit a Section 3 bid tabulation. That Section 3 bid tabulation should indicate what awarded contracts were to Section 3 businesses, if any, or indicate that a bid was not received from a Section 3 business concern, or if that successful candidate was not selected, then we will require a letter of explanation to be submitted detailing the reasons for not selecting a qualified Section 3 business concern. So this will be required 7 business days after the bid due date. So as it relates to employment opportunity announcements, we're not asking you to go and create any new employment opportunities, but if an employment opportunities shall arise, then the owner developer or the prime contractor will be required to complete an EOA announcement. This must be submitted to my attention for review and approval, and I will distribute it out to the Section 3 directory. Once it'll be a bid due date, it should go out for 2 weeks. Your results, once it come back, we want to see the name of the new hire, what classification, or an explanation if the opportunity did not result in a Section 3 worker. And this is just what the EOA announcement looked like. You'll put the date. The due date should be 2 weeks. You'll put the name of the firm. You'll list all of the employment opportunities that you have available and include the employer's contact information so that Section 3 worker can ask any questions. I think someone had their hand raised. Was it a question? So we'll move forward with Pay or Play. So Pay or Play was established in July 2007, and it is governed by our Executive Order 1 through 7. So the City of Houston prime contractors that contracts that are valued at $100,000 and subcontracts valued at $200,000. This is including contingencies, amendments will be required to adhere to Pay or Play requirements. Now, what pre-award services will be expected to receive from the selected general contractor only is the pay-or-play pre-award documents. So from the selected general contractor, you'll be required to submit the POP 1, which is the pay-or-play acknowledgement form. The POP 2 is the pay-or-play certification of compliance with the pay-or-play program. And the POP 3 is the pay-or-play list of subcontractors. And then we have the B2G management access form. So all of these pay-or-play documents will be required to be submitted on behalf of the selected general contractor only. So I don't need any of your subcontractor, none of these forms for your subcontractors during the pre-award phase, only the general contractor that was selected. So this is what a copy of the pay-or-play acknowledgement form looks like. It's just acknowledging that the selected general contractor agrees to comply as a successful contractor. You just completed the city vendor and the solicitation. Those two lines, they're not required. So you can leave those blank and just date and sign the other information. We have the form POP 2, which is the certification of compliance. So the selected general contractor is going to choose how will you participate in the pay or play program. Or are you going to pay, play, or both? And then this is the opportunity where you're going to list how many employees will actually be working for the general contractor. Do you have any exempt employees? It's just an estimated. This form can always be revised if any changes have been made. You want to make sure you sign and date it. Now we have the form POP 3. So the POP 3 form is going to list everyone you intend on participating on your project. So this is suppliers, subcontractors, consultants, anyone that you intend on participating on your project. We want to ensure that they're listed on this POP 3 form. So if they're a supplier, we know the suppliers are exempt from pay or play requirements. So you will put NA. If you have a subcontractor or consultant or service provider who contract is under 200,000, we know that they're exempt. You're going to put NA. But for everybody else that's listed and their contract is 200,000, I'm looking to ensure that it says pay, play, or both. And then this needs to be filled out and submitted by the selected general contractor. So all of the firms that you have listed on your MWSBE participation plan, as well as your Section 3 plans, I need to ensure that those contractors are listed on the POP 3 form. This is what our B2G access form looks like. So this form is going to designate who from the general contractor will be responsible for ensuring that pay or play compliance is completed in the B2G access form. So you just want to make sure you put the designated personnel that who will be ensuring that pay or play compliance. So we'll get into talking about the solicitation language. So if the project was awarded under NOFA and it was awarded to an owner, developer, then if they have to procure a general contractor, then they must submit their solicitation language to my attention for review to ensure that the applicable program requirements and documents are included in any advertisement. So you just want to make sure you get that over to me in a timely manner so I can review it and approve it to ensure that any solicitation goes out includes these applicable program requirements such as MWSBE, Section 3, POP. We want to make sure that anybody that is interested in participating on the project, that they are very aware of what program requirements will be applicable on HCD projects. So this is just some language that we provide to the owner developer and the general to let them know when they're procuring a general contractor under MWSBE. You want to make sure that if it has a goal, you want to make sure that that goal is included in the area that says contractors shall make good faith efforts to award subcontract supply agreements, and at least you want to make sure that percentage is included in your solicitation. You want to make sure that the standard Section 3 program language is included that identifies the 24 CFR Part 75 of the Section 3 regulations. For pay or play, you just want to ensure that the contractors understand that this project is subject to pay or play as it relates to Executive Order 1 through 7, and that they have the willingness to comply with the city contractors pay or play. I know effective, we have, I think, ever since April the 2nd, 2022. This is just some provisions that should be included in your contract terms. So you want to make sure the domestic purposes and provision of certain telecommunication technology language is included in all of your contracts. So before you execute a contract, you want to make sure that you submit that draft contract to my attention so I can review it to ensure that applicable program language and required standard documents is included in your contract before you execute it. So this is some of the standard required documents that should be included in your contract. You want to make sure you have the federal labor standard provisions. It has MWSBE Section 3 as well as Pay or Play. The last update was August 2021. You want to make sure that you have the updated contract compliance form packets for MWSBE in Section 3. You want to make sure that if your project is subject to MWSB requirements, that you have the document 808, which is the requirements for the City of Houston program for the MWSBE. You want to make sure the City of Houston Good Faith Efforts policy is included as well. And some of our older projects, if it was funded with CDBG DR17 for multifamily awards, we were including that you have the Workforce Provision Appendix 15 included. So you just want to make sure that you provide me that draft copy of your construction contract so I can review it and approve it to ensure that you have the compliance language and documents for your applicable programs. So we'll just get into some of the pre-award compliance red flags that I have noticed on when you're submitting some of these pre-award documents. So issues is signed letters of intent might not be submitted with a participation plan. That can definitely deem your participation plan not being approved if you fail to submit those signed letters of intent. Failure to have the Section 3 business or MWBE firm sign your signed letters of intent. You want to make sure when listing firms on your Section 3 participation plan that they have an active certification with the City of Houston Housing Community Development. We definitely commend you if you have a HUD certification, but that's not acceptable. It does not meet the Section 3 goal requirements. You must have a City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department Section 3 certification. As well as listing firms on your participation plan that does not have an active certification. You want to make sure any certified MWSBE subcontractors or suppliers are currently certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity before you list them on your participation plan. If you submit a participation plan that have firms, certified subcontractors or suppliers that are not certified, your plan will definitely be denied. And that could definitely prevent further delays in the project. So you want to make sure when you're substituting SBE for participation towards your MBE and or WBE goals that you designate the 4%. You cap it at 4%. If you choose to do more than 4%, only 4% will be put toward the MBE or WBE. But if you put more than 4%, you will be required to adhere to whatever percentage you exceeded over that 4%. You want to make sure that you demonstrate meeting all Section 3 numerical goal requirements or provide acceptable good faith efforts as to why you were unable to meet those numerical goal requirements. So to find the list of MWSB approved subcontractors, you will go to the City of Houston website, www.houstonmwbe.com, to find the certified directory. And failure to submit pre-award documents for review and approval in a timely manner will result in your pre-award documents being denied. So when are the pre-award documents required to be submitted? You want to make sure that these documents are submitted in a timely manner. They must be submitted in order and approved in order for me to recommend to proceed with project activities such as the pre-construction meeting or you issuing a notice to proceed. So you'll submit those pre-award documents to my attention at my email address. You want to make sure if your project is subject to MWSB Section 3 or Pay or Play, that when you submit the pre-award documents, you're submitting all the documents together. You know, don't piece one day send MWSBE, one day send Section 3. I'm looking for you to submit all of the required documents in one email. If the MWSB participation plan is deemed non-responsive, what is the next step? Like I said, if you submit a participation plan and fails to meet the minimum goal requirements, then you will be required to turn in 3 documents, your 470, 471, and 472, along with all supporting documentation. That information will be forwarded over to the Office of Business Opportunity for review. If the Section 3 plan is deemed non-responsive, what is the next step? As I say, we'll be looking for you to submit good faith efforts documentation so we can review those good faith efforts to determine if you have acceptable good faith efforts for us to proceed with the project activities. However, those requirements will still be applicable throughout the duration of your project. So what are the citywide aspirational goals requirements? So we had construction related contracts were advertised with 34% MWBE, which is 23% in 11, and you had up to 4% substitution for construction related projects. But only firms certified through the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity could be counted towards your participation goals. And like I said, for more information, you can always visit www.houston.mwdbe.com to access that online directory where we have over 5,000 qualified certified firms to help you meet your MWBE goal requirements. Now, as it relates to a subcontractor getting certified, our office does not certify MWBEs, but the Office of Business Opportunity does, and it could be from 3 months or longer to take for a subcontractor to get certified. So if you have any subcontractors interested in participating on your project and you want them certified as an MWBE, WBE, or SBE, you want to make sure that you get their application in and all the supporting documents in a timely manner, because it does take 3 months or longer to get certified. But you can always contact the Office of Business Opportunity for more information on regards to their timeline with being a certified subcontractor. Now, as it relates to Section 3, it takes 7 to 10 business days to get certified as a Section 3 business concern. So how are pre-award good faith efforts evaluated? We evaluate good faith efforts on a case by case, which determines if the contractor has complied with the City of Houston good faith efforts. For MWSBE and Section 3, we utilize the City of Houston good faith efforts. So I encourage you to visit the City of Houston's website at www.houstontx.gov/OBO docs and forms/good faith efforts to assess a copy of the good faith efforts. So in the event that you're submitting your MWBE participation plan in your Section 3, you want to ensure that you follow those guidelines if you need to submit good faith efforts. Can you receive dual credit if your contractor is Section 3 in MWSBE? Yes. So if a contractor is certified as an MWSBE firm through the Office of Business Opportunity and they meet the Section 3 certification requirements, dual credit can be received. We encourage you, if you are an MWSBE firm, to go ahead and take advantage of our Section 3 business concern application. It's a 7 to 10 business day turnaround. We ask for a minimum of documents that you had to submit to become an MWSBE firm. So we definitely encourage you to take advantage of becoming MWSBE and Section 3. Our general contractors look forward with finding qualified contractors and suppliers who are certified in both areas to help them meet their numerical goal requirements. What should the eBid and EOA announcements be disseminated? So when you have new contracting and new employment opportunities, then at the earliest phase of the project, I'm looking for you to go ahead and complete that eBid announcement and that EOA announcement so we can send it out to the Section 3 businesses and workers, and that we can help, with you meeting your employment and contracting goal requirements. In those solicitations, if you have any contracting opportunities, they are distributed to the Section 3 and the MWSBE firms. Now, at this time, are there any comments or questions with the information I provided as it relates to pre-award services? You said, how does a business get involved with offering community programs post-construction? For example, my business provides family literacy services and resources. Ms. McDaniel, I will give you our contact information for community involvement. They can contact you and provide you some information on getting your community program, information on how we can offer incentives for your community program. Her name is Karen Franklin. I'll put her information in the chat. So at this time, this concludes the pre-award services presentation. Thank you all for attending. So we can provide you a better experience. I will be putting the survey link in the chat box. Patricia Holcomb will be presenting our Section 3 Virtual Technical Assistance Training, which will begin at 9:30. We also have a special guest that will be coming on about 9:25 to give you some information in regards to compliance program requirements. And I thank you, and I hope you enjoy the next presentation. Good morning, everyone. This morning, we are delighted to have Ms. Rhonda Foster with HUD join us to discuss some important information with the attendees before Patricia Holcomb presents the Section 3 presentation. So Ms. Rhonda Foster, please take the floor.
Thank you. Again, as mentioned, my name is Rhonda Foster. I am the labor specialist with the HUD's Office of Davis-Bacon and Labor Standards. And I am based in the Houston field office. I oversee some projects in Houston and some other states. I wanted to first and foremost say how much I appreciate the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department for hosting this technical assistance and offering all of you a space to gain knowledge and awareness about what's expected and what's required of you. I think it's very important to share that. When Ms. Tate was speaking, I heard her on average at a minimum of 14 times say that she have to review things. And what I was thinking is that it's many of you and it's one of her. And so that tells you how important compliance is. And so when we make simple and small mistakes where we can offer or ask for technical assistance, that is a burdensome situation that can be placed on her office. And so this training is specifically designed to give you the knowledge that you need to relieve some of those areas, as well as to gain some additional knowledge. And so as it relates to HUD funded projects, I wanted to share a few things with you guys today to take away. And that is that HUD funds tend to be one of the largest sources of federal investments in our distressed communities and typically result in new employment, training, and contracting opportunities, such as what many of you are here representing today. Compliance or ensuring that funds are being used as intended is crucial in being able to continue receiving those funds for current and future programs. And keeping abreast of the requirements and ensuring that you are meeting the goals of the funded requirements is key. That is very important. Not only is the City of Houston providing you technical assistance, but there are some things that you are also responsible for, making sure that you stay abreast as well to prevent any type of deficiencies or areas of concern when it comes to monitoring or auditing or just your records. And so the purpose of this training, again, is to ensure that everyone understands not only what's expected, but what is required. And I know it seems like the city is asking you for a lot of information, but every document that they're asking you to maintain and provide is critical to funding. It's critical to providing support and services to the clientele that we service within the communities where your projects are based. And so it is imperative that you follow regulatory compliance and to be aware of what's required and expected of you. And what HUD expects is that you know your award requirements. You stay abreast of changes and how they may affect you and your organization or your company. Avoid common pitfalls by knowing where your risks are. If you need help, ask for help. If you need technical assistance or support, I know there are a couple of new rules out there when it relates to Davis-Bacon, when it relates to Section 3. Our office is a support, an extended support to you, as well as the City of Houston, to provide direct training. If bringing Department of Labor involved in our Section 3 component of our department and our DBLS component, we are available to provide technical assistance to you all and provide you some additional resources and support in those new rules, because I know sometimes it can be hard to understand and to navigate, but it is important that if you need technical assistance, that you reach out to the resources that's been provided to you so that you can avoid some of those issues and pitfalls that I've seen others run up against. And so to avoid those deficiencies, you make sure that you're keeping your internal records, make sure that you're keeping your internal controls. I think that's very key. Sometimes we get so busy and we just say, okay, I'll pass this on, I'll take care of it later, but later becomes a week or a month. And so we forget or we just don't document things properly. And again, when you forward those items to the city's office and that person is reviewing it, you think about there are many of you in one of them, and it's imperative. Not only are you being held responsible of the requirements, there are some obligations and requirements that the city is being held for. And so I know it seems sometimes tedious and meticulous, but everything that's being asked or required of you is important. It's important to make sure that you get that done, those things done. And so understanding your regular review of processes and regulations, understanding and making sure when we have trainings or trainings like this are prepared or provided to you, that you share with the frontline staff. I know sometimes, and I'm sure many of you have, but I've seen instances where we have one person from an entity showing up. If there are others that can benefit, allow them to hear the information so that it avoids the different scopes of discussion. So I want to encourage you, if you're not doing that, to invite your personnel to these trainings so that they can be on the front line of hearing this information when they're doing the work. And so things will make sense to them, and you can avoid some unnecessary pitfalls that you may be up against or run up against. And as it relates to Section 3 and Davis-Bacon and Labor Standards Office, if there's some support that you need, please reach out to our office. We do virtual trainings. We do support trainings. If it's a particular areas, especially with Davis-Bacon, with uploading payroll, we want to make sure that the clients that you're serving and the individuals that you're serving and the communities that we're serving, that we're doing it fairly and that we are doing it compliantly. And so those are some things that we expect, and that's over and above what the city may expect. So we want to make sure that we're all in alignment with that, because when we have repeated non-compliance, those things can result in a few things. It can result in HUD and or DOL, Department of Labor, doing investigations. It can result in suspension of your privileges of being a contractor. It can result in debarment, limited denial of participation, repayment of funds, restitution to workers. And we definitely would like to avoid at all costs criminal legalities and issues of what we would consider, fraudulent documentation or fraudulent record keeping. And I know that none of you are doing that, but that is one of the non-compliance that can result in that the results can be a criminal legality in that area. And so, as mentioned, HUD's our goal is to foster economic development, neighborhood economic improvement, and individual self-sufficiency. And you are a partner in that goal. Therefore, please follow the guidelines that's been provided and offered by the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department. It sounds like, and just hearing, they have a robust system, and if worked properly, will ensure that you remain compliant and that you are compliant. And that's what I wanted to reiterate: compliance, compliance, compliance. Because again, we do not like suspending funds. That's not our goal, because we want to serve people. And so, but it's imperative that if you're not following compliance, that's a risk that you're taking. So you want to be aware of that. I'll put my email in the chat. If there's a training opportunity that you would like to seek, or if there's something that we can collaborate with Housing and Community Development Department, I'm open to doing that as well. But I wanted to just support them today in their technical assistance training and ensure that you all understand that it's just not them that's asking you for this information. It's a requirement and an expectation of HUD that these processes are followed to ensure that the funding that's awarded is spent properly, and that it assists the individuals and communities that is set out to provide those services for. And so I hope that you gain additional knowledge today in this technical assistance training. Ms. Tate's training was very great. It was really good. She's working definitely really hard, just listening to the support that she offers everyone in the pre-award ceremony bidding processes. So just be conscious of that and think about your work and the ethnic value of your work that you provide in the community. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank Rhonda Foster for being here today. And thank you, Ms. Foster, also for providing us with that valuable information. Your input is truly appreciated. Okay, now welcome everyone to the Section 3 Technical Assistance Training for Contractors. I am Patricia Holcomb, a Section 3 contract administrator for the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department. I work in the Compliance and Grants Administration Division, and I will be presenting the Section 3 portion of today's training. Before I go on any further, please note that this presentation is being recorded for training purposes. Also, a copy of this presentation will be available on our
Yeah, oh, I did
website
get a
in
notification, but the
approximately,
link wasn't on there.
Yeah, me
could,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, excuse me, can everyone please mute your mics? Okay. I want to also that a copy of the presentation will be available in approximately 2 weeks or 10 business days. The link to the website is listed in our chat for your convenience. Also, note at the end of the presentation, please complete the survey. Your feedback is extremely valuable and it would help in future trainings. The link to the survey is also included in the chat. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns during this presentation, enter them in the chat. We have our compliance team on standby to address any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have. My contact information is also located in the chat, and you may contact me directly if needed. Thank you for attending this presentation today, and without further ado, I will now begin. Okay, our division contact information rather includes our Deputy Director, Kanisha London, and then we have our division manager, who is Crystal Boyce. We're located at 2100 Travis on the 9th floor, and we're in Houston, Texas. This is also a copy of our website here. Okay, our Section 3 team members consist of myself, Patricia Holcomb. I'm a contract administrator, and we also have Lewis Maryland, who is also a contract administrator. The purpose for Section 3 is to provide jobs, training, and contracting opportunities for low-income persons and businesses that employ low and very low-income persons through certain HUD grants and funding programs. Some of our Section 3 benefits include contracting, employment, and training opportunities generated for low and very low income persons and businesses that employ such individuals. It helps businesses and workers foster relationships on community development projects, and it also provides preference and regular alerts to certified business concerns and workers when contracting and employment opportunities arise. Some of the topics, Section 3 topics that I will be discussing today, or I have already discussed the purpose and the benefits, but I will be going over some of our Section 3 definitions. I will go over the Section 3 threshold, numeric goal requirements, our Section 3 business concern, our Section 3 work and targeted workers, Section 3 directories, our certification processes. We're going to go over EBID, EOA, and bid tabulations, our post-award activities, our compliance form packets for contracts over $100,000 as well as contracts under $100,000. We will go over the LCP Tracker auditing system, our contractors' performance. I'm going to go over our closeout evaluation, and then I will provide you with some resource links. Our Section 3 business definitions. Some of these words are words that you will hear frequently when dealing with Section 3. One is a contractor. A contractor is defined as a recipient to perform work in connection with the expenditure of public housing financial assistance or for work in connection with a Section 3 project. Or it could be a sub-recipient for work in connection with a Section 3 project. A subcontractor is defined as any entity that has a contract with a contractor to undertake a portion of that contractor's obligation to perform work in connection with the expenditure of the public housing financial assistance or for a Section 3 project. We have our Section 3 covered contract. This is any contract or subcontract, including contracts for professional services awarded for work generated by a Section 3 covered project. The Section 3 requirements do not apply to material supply contracts. Then we have a Section 3 covered project. A Section 3 covered project is a project that involves the construction, reconstruction, or rehabilitation of housing or other public construction. Labor hours. Labor hours are the number of paid hours worked by persons on a Section 3 project. Then we have our low-income individuals. They're workers residing in the Houston metropolitan and the non-metropolitan areas who do not exceed the 80% HUD area income limit. Youth Build programs, they are programs receiving assistance under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Our Section 3 threshold. Section 3 compliance applies only to all contracts in excess of $100,000, and that's for housing construction, rehabilitation, or public construction. Our Section 3 numeric goal requirements. Section 3 contracting and labor goals. Our contracting goals include a 10% of the construction budget, also known as hard costs, must be directed to our Section 3 business concerns. And then we have 3% of our non-construction budget, we also call that soft costs, must be directed to our Section 3 business concerns. We have our labor hour goals, which includes 25% of all labor hours performed must be by our Section 3 workers. Then we have 5% of all labor hours performed must be by our Section 3 targeted workers. Our Section 3 business concerns. Okay? A Section 3 business concern is a business that meet at least one of the following criteria documented within the last 6-month period. Qualifying category 1 is when 51% of that business is owned and controlled by a low-income person or persons. Qualifying category 2 is when 75% of the business labor hours performed over the prior 3-month period was by low-income person or persons. And then we have qualifying category 3 is when 51% of the business is owned and controlled by current public housing residents or by residents who currently live in Section 8 assisted housing. Our Section 3 worker and targeted workers. A Section 3 worker is any worker who currently fit or when hired within the past 5 years fit at least one of the following criteria. Number one, that worker is if that worker's income is for the previous or current calendar year is below the HUD income limits. 2, if that worker is employed by a certified Section 3 business. And then 3 is if that worker is part of a Youth Build program. A Section 3 targeted worker is a worker who, number one, is employed by a Section 3 business concern. 2, they can be a worker who fit or when hired fit at least one of the following categories documented within the past 5 years. They can be a resident of the public housing or Section 8 assisted housing. They could be a resident of other public housing projects or the Section 8 assisted housing managed by the Public Housing Authority that is providing the assistance, or they can be a part of a Youth Build program. Section 3 directories. In order to receive credit towards numeric goal requirements on City of Houston projects, businesses must be certified through us, the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department. We maintain an online list of eligible Section 3 businesses and notifies them when contracting opportunities are available. Currently, we have 110 certified businesses in our directory. Now, over here to the right, we have a snippet of the link. When you go in to search for businesses, you can go in here. You can either apply for certification at the top. You see where it's apply for certification, and then below it says Section 3 directory. And then the snippet at the bottom is a copy of, if you click the Section 3 directory, this will come up. You can search businesses by name, or you can search them by the scope of description, the business description. That'll be the scope of work for that particular subcontractor. Our Section 3 worker directories. In order to receive credit toward numeric goal requirements, workers must be certified through us, the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department. We maintain an online list of our eligible Section 3 workers by skill, trade, and notifies them when employment opportunities are available. Currently, we have 407 certified workers. Over to the right, we have a snippet of our website the way you can go in and search for that particular directory. Okay, and this is a continuation on our Section 3 directory. We have actually two directories. We have one that's a published directory, and then we have a non-published directory. The published directory is when workers opt into being placed on our public Section 3 worker directory. That's on our HCDD website. These workers will receive email notifications of employment, training, and other opportunities. Below that, there's a snippet of page 7 of our Section 3 worker application. Question number 8 is, I agree to having my information published in the City of Houston's Section 3 worker directory. If they click yes, they will be in the published directory. If they click no, they will be in the non-published directory. If they're in the non-published directory, that means that that worker has opted out of being in the public directory, and they will not receive any email notification. Now, these directories are available upon request to assist with compliance reporting as well. Our Section 3 certification processes. Our application processes, and these include our Section 3 business application. We only accept them through the B2G Now program, and then the application for the Section 3 business directory is here. The link is here. And then we have our Section 3 workers application can be obtained here at this particular link. And just as we said, you will get copies or be able to obtain a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. So there's no need to write all of these down. But if you need them before then, please email one of us and we can get this information to you. Our Section 3 mobile unit. Our Section 3 mobile unit is our community involvement section. They will come out and assist with on-site certification of workers and subcontractors, businesses. They are available for economic opportunity presentations, and they will share community and essential resources. Now, this is a very good program. You do not have to even make an effort and come to us. We can come to you and assist your businesses and workers on being certified. If you would like, just give us your information, contact one of us, and we can get you on that list and on their schedule so they can come out to your projects. Our eBid tabulations, and employment opportunity announcements. Our eBid requirements: when contracting opportunities arise throughout the duration of the project, an eBid announcement must be submitted for dissemination to our Section 3 business in the Housing and Community Development Department's online directory. That eBid should be sent to the Section 3 contract administrator for dissemination to all our businesses in the HCDD Section 3 directory. The contractor will review all bids received and should award contracts based on the Section 3 procurement guidelines, depending on if that bid was construction or non-construction. The contractor will submit a bid tabulation after all bids are received. The bid tabulation should indicate which awarded contracts were to a Section 3 business, if any, or indicate if that Section 3 bids were not received. If the contractor fails to meet the numeric goal requirements, records that demonstrate efforts to comply with Section 3 goal requirements should remain readily available for reporting and audited purposes. Our eBid announcement. This is a copy of our eBid announcement form. This form, what I like to point out on this form is the date. Make sure that that date is the date that you submit the document to your Section 3 contract administrator. The bid due date should be at least, it could be more, but at least a 14-day solicitation period. Meaning if it's not, if I get it today and it had last week's date on it, it's going to be rejected, sent back to you. And it has to be a 14-day period in order to get this out and returned. Our sample bid tabulation. This is a sample of a bid tabulation. We will accept this sample. If you have a bid tabulation that you already use and it captures these fields that we're asking here, you feel free to use it. It's no worries, as long as we get all this information that we have here on the sample. Okay, our employment opportunity announcement requirements. When new hire opportunities arise throughout the duration of the project, an employment opportunity announcement must be submitted for dissemination to Section 3 workers in the HCDD's online directory. HCDD must be notified of the results. Results must include, number one, the name of the new hire. Two, we would need the Section 3 classification. Three, we would need an explanation if a Section 3 worker was not selected. This is a copy of our employment opportunity announcement form. We also call that the EOA form. The same here, that date is very important. The date and the application deadline should be a 14-day solicitation period. Okay, our post-award activities. Contractor requirements. A Section 3 participation plan with letters of intent must be executed with pre-award services prior to the scheduling of a pre-construction meeting and obtaining the notice to proceed. A pre-construction meeting will be held with the owner, developer, and the prime contractor to discuss the program rules and compliance expectations. Contracted compliance personnel and subcontractors are strongly encouraged to attend the pre-construction meeting to ensure compliance requirements are understood before project activity commences. A Section 3 covered contracts must include the federal regulations. That's Chapter 24 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 75. Our DR-17 multifamily projects, they must provide the workforce provision, Appendix 15. Then our Federal General Services Administration's system for award management, also known as the SAMS.gov, and they have to submit the Texas Controller search results for each contractor and subcontractor performing on that project is required at the execution of a contract and annually. The prime contractor must ensure all contractors comply with numeric goal reporting requirements and review documents for accuracy before submitting to the Housing and Community Development Department. The prime contractor must report and submit any contract changes and or change orders in LCP tracker. And then the Section 3 signage, that must be on site at a size, and on the project in a size visible from the street level. This is a copy of our sign. This is a template. So if you get a copy of this template, we have it in our form packet. But if you get a copy of this, please, where it says project name, put the name of your project. And at the bottom where it say insert name of contact information, please make sure that the contractor's name, contact information, and email address is indicated on there. Our compliance form packets, and this for contracts that are over $100,000. Compliance forms must be submitted by the contractor and the subcontractors no later than 5 business days from the execution of a contract agreement. Initial requirements include a compliance cover page. This form captures vital contractor and subcontractor information, and it is used to set up the project in various systems. We would need a start of work notice. This form must be submitted when work starts on a project. We would need a request for contractor and subcontractor clearance form. This is a verification that the contractors and the subcontractors are eligible to perform on federally funded projects. We would need a SAMS.gov results. This result is a verification that the contractor and the subcontractors are not on the excluded parties list. We would need a Texas controller verification or result. And this verification is that the contractor and subcontractors are not on that debarred vendor list. We would need a conflict of interest form. This form verifies that the owner or owners, the developer, contractors, and subcontractors have no conflicting relationships. That SAMS.gov, the Texas controller results, and the conflict of interest forms are also required annually. A continuation of forms for contracts over $100,000 include a contractor's Section 3 compliance certification. This form must be completed by the prime contractor, the contractors, and the subcontractors acknowledging to abide with the Section 3 regulations. That's the Chapter 24 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 75 again. We would need a permanent employee list. This is a list of all employees who are employed prior to the start of work on a project, regardless if working on a particular project or not. Submit this form once unless a change occurs. We would need a first source hiring agreement. This agreement to adhere to Section 3 policies when hiring individuals. We would need a workforce analysis form. This form is an indication of the need or no need for new hires. This is a forecast form. We would need the internal capacity affidavit. This affidavit should be submitted once, and that is only if that subcontractor does not have a need for lower tier subs or new hires for the duration of the project. Then we would need a termination of work notice. This form must be submitted when work ends on the project. Compliance form packet for the monthly requirements for compliance forms for over $100,000. These are monthly. Those that I said previously are initial forms. These are monthly forms. We would need monthly a Section 3 monthly utilization plan. This form lists the subcontractors utilized monthly and or when changes occur on the project. We would need a monthly internal capacity report. That's if I'm sorry, I think I was muted just for a second. I'm gonna go back over this part here, the compliance form packet for contracts over 100, the monthly requirements for contracts over $100,000. Our Section 3 monthly Section 3 monthly utilization plan. That's that form is a list of the subcontractors utilized monthly and or when changes occur on the project. Then we would need a monthly internal capacity report form. This form is only if you sign the affidavit. This form is an attestation of the internal capacity status. And then we would need a monthly activity report. This is captures hours worked by both the Section 3 and the non-Section 3 employees for the length of the project. This form is required if and or until internal capacity is claimed. Now, the monthly utilization plan is monthly, and then either you will submit a monthly internal capacity report form or a monthly activity report. Okay, our compliance form packet, a continuation of monthly documents that's needed, our Section 3 monthly labor hours and employee report. This form is required from the prime contractor monthly to track achievement of that 25% Section 3 worker and that 5% Section 3 targeted worker labor goal. Okay, this is a copy of our compliance cover sheet. This form is required from the prime contractor, the subcontractors, and the lower tier subcontractors. This form must be completed and uploaded to LCP Tracker along with the executed contract within 5 business days of the agreement. This is a copy of that Section 3 utilization form. This is that monthly form. This is a monthly requirement from the prime contractor and the subcontractors and lower tier subcontractors with contracts that are over $100,000. The prime's report must list all the subcontractors and lower tier subcontractors from the start of work to the finish of the project. This form also tracks achievement of that hard cost and soft cost goals with our Section 3 numeric goal requirement. This is a copy of our monthly verification internal capacity form. This form here is required from the subcontractors with a contract of $100,000 or higher who are self-performing the scope of work in the contract. This form should the subcontractor change the status, the subcontractor must inform that prime contractor, who will in turn inform the assigned Section 3 contract administrator. Monthly compliance reporting submissions will be adjusted if when the internal capacity status changes. So this form will be submitted until there's a change throughout the project. Our Section 3 monthly activity report is required from the prime contractor with a contract of $100,000 or higher who have lower tier subcontractors to perform the scope of work indicated in the contract. Should the subcontractor status change, the subcontractor must inform that prime contractor, who in turn informs that assigned Section 3 contract administrator. Monthly compliance reporting submissions will be adjusted when the subcontractor status change. Okay, this is a copy of our monthly labor hour and employee report form. This form is all the fields at the top need to be filled out, and then you would list under A, you would list your Section 3 workers. You would make sure that all those fields are filled out, make sure that they put their certification number. I return a lot of them if that certification number is not listed there. And then at the bottom, these are targeted workers. If you have any Section 3 targeted workers, you would list them at the bottom and make sure you include all those fields as well on that form. Our compliance form packet for contracts less than $100,000. Okay, contracts under $100,000, they are not subject to Section 3 requirements. However, those contracts are required to submit the documents below. Those documents include a start of work notice. They would need a SAMS.gov result for the business, the owner or owners, and the company employee identification number. They will need to submit a conflict of interest form and a Texas Controller Debarred vendor search result. They would need to submit a contract agreement, a master service agreement, and or a purchase order. They would need to submit a confirmation of subcontractor contract amount form. We also call that form that COSCA form. And then we would need a termination of work notice once the work ends. However, should your contract increase to $100,000 or higher, Section 3 requirements will be enforced at that time. This is a copy of our start of work notice. This form is required from the prime contractor, the subcontractor, and the lower tier subcontractors. This form indicates to the assigned contract administrator when to begin monitoring and collecting applicable compliance documents from the prime contractor, subcontractor, and lower tier subcontractor. Then this is a copy of our request for prime contractor, subcontractor clearance. This form is required from the prime contractor, subcontractor, the lower tier subcontractors with every executed contract agreement and annually. The date and website details must be visible on this search for the business name, the owner or owners' names, and the employee identification number. This form goes in conjunction with the SAMS.gov search. You should put those together when you submit them. Then this is a copy of a DeBart vendor search. This search is required from the prime contractor, the subcontractors, and the lower tier subcontractors with every executed contract, agreement, and annually. Date and website details must be visible on this form as well. Our contract agreements. A contract agreement, MSA, and or a purchase order is required from the prime contractors, subcontractors, and lower tier subcontractors performing on the project. Executed contract agreements must be submitted within 5 business days to the Housing and Community Development Department. I can't stress that enough. It's 5 business days to HCDD. All executed contracts must include a contract date and the project name. It must have the contracting parties' business names. It should have the contract amount. It should have the scope of work. We would need signatures and dates from the prime, the subcontractor, and lower tier subcontractors. We would need addresses of the homes or houses for the single family projects. We would need the federal regulations. That's that chapter 24 Code of Federal Regulations. That's for contracts over $100,000. And then for the DR-17 multifamily projects, we would need the DR-17 Workforce Provision Appendix 15. This is a copy of our Section 3 Confirmation of Subcontract Amount form. This form is required from the subcontractors and lower tier subcontractors. If any changes occur to increase this contract amount to equal or greater than $100,000, an updated form is required, and Section 3 monthly monitoring will begin. So basically, this form, the top part, you'll fill out all the information, and then when you are under $100,000, Sean, this is letting us know that this contract is under $100,000. You would fill out A. Now, if that contract eventually goes over $100,000, then you will submit another form and submit, and then you would fill out B at the bottom. That gives that Section 3 contract administrator the notification that, hey, they're not over $100,000, and that's when the Section 3 requirements begin. A termination of work notice, that's this form here. This form is required from the prime contractor, subcontractor, and lower tier subcontractors. This form should be submitted when scope of work performed by the subcontractor, the contractor, the subcontractor, and lower tier subcontractors is complete. Indication to assigned contract administrator that's applicable to Section 3 compliance forms are no longer required. It also is used to determine whether the prime contractor or subcontractor and lower tier subs are excluded from the annual requirements. That's that SAM, the Texas Controller, and the conflict of interest forms. Our single-family requirements, subcontract agreements are required for every subcontractor working on a project address. A master contract agreement with the purchase order is also acceptable. The prime contractor must submit a first source hiring agreement, a Section 3 compliance certification, a permanent employee list, and a workforce analysis form. These are one-time only forms. The prime contractor must conduct a SAMS.gov search on each subcontractor and lower tier subcontractor performing on the project. That would include the company's name, the company owner name or names, and the company's employee identification number. The prime contractor will submit a contract cover sheet, a Section 3 utilization plan, a Texas Controller debarred vendor result, a conflict of interest form, a start of work notice, a termination of work notices for each subcontractor and lower tier subcontractor performing on each project address. Single-family requirements. The Section 3 utilization plan and monthly activity reports are required every month following the start of work date for each project address. All subcontractors and lower tier subcontractors must submit a confirmation of subcontract amount form for each project address. The prime contractor must inform the HCDD of any subcontracting or employment opportunities prior to awarding or hiring by forwarding an eBid announcement or an employment opportunity announcement to our office for dissemination to our certified Section 3 workers and our certified Section 3 businesses. LCP Tracker auditing system. Following a pre-construction or a kickoff meeting, the Section 3 contract administrator will create a project profile and assign the prime contractor as a prime approver in LCP Tracker. The information required to set up a prime and subcontractor assignments in LCP Tracker is captured on the compliance cover sheet found in the compliance form packet. The prime contractor is responsible for setting up and assigning each subcontractor to the project and LCP Tracker. The subcontractor must be assigned to a project in order to submit required compliance documents. The prime contractor is responsible for reviewing and approving compliance document uploads submitted by subcontractors in LCP Tracker. Could you please everyone mute your mics, please? Now, LCP Tracker captures a Section 3 certification status and project labor hours. LCP Tracker, this is a copy of that. This is under the employment profile page, the subcontractor will, and it gives you all the steps that you would have to go through. So they're very simple and easy. I have gone through it with some of our contractors. There's LCP Tracker prime contractor steps to assign a contractor to a project. These are steps 1 through 6, very simple steps to follow. And then this is step 2 of the process. This is just a snippet of what you'll see. And then it's kind of highlighted on what you need to provide and submit. And this is steps 1 through 4 on how to upload documents in LCP Tracker. And this is a snippet of what you'll see when you upload it. Now, one of the things I like to point out here is that document type. Make sure that that document type is correct when you are uploading documents, because if it's not correct, it will be rejected. Also, make sure that the description is correct. You can't have a start of work notice and it's described as a utilization plan. It will be rejected if so. And And for your convenience, in our compliance form packet, we have upload locations. So if you're trying to upload a document, here are highlighted in blue or in the blue ribbon is the different document types. So this is where, and then underneath, you'll see the different forms that you put in those particular document types, okay? Our deviation request. Deviation request requirements. A deviation request is required to add or remove a certified Section 3 business from the approved Section 3 participation plan. A written request from that prime contractor must be submitted to the assigned Section 3 contract administrator for review to deviate from the approved Section 3 participation plan. The prime contractor must provide evidence to confirm subcontractor was notified and acknowledges the deviation process. The deviation request must include the who, the what, the when, and the why. Ongoing monitoring. Ongoing monitoring includes monthly site visits, will be conducted randomly to monitor project activities and contractors to participation. The prime contractor will be provided with a compliance status report, that's that CSR, by the fifth working day of each month, which indicates if the project is in compliant or non-compliant with program rules. A deadline will be given for correction of non-compliant items. The Housing and Community Development Department contract administrators, we are required to submit reports to the General Land Office, to HUD quarterly and annually, and that capture Section 3 worker and targeted workers, executed contracts, and Section 3 businesses with construction and non-construction related contracts. Submission of required compliance documents in a timely manner is critical to ensure accurate and reliable reporting. If the 5th falls on a weekend or a holiday, reports will be provided on that next business day. Contractors' performance. These are some red flags that we have. These are things that we try to stay away from. We want our contracts to stay away from these red flags. The one, unresponsive prime contractors and compliance administrative personnel. That's a red flag. Failure to submit change orders. Red flag. Failure to meet numeric goal requirements and demonstrate acceptable good faith efforts. That's a red flag. Failure to submit timely required compliance documents. Red flag. Compliance monitor conducts a site visit and observes that contractors are performing that are not included on a utilization plan and or have not submitted required compliance documents. That's a huge red flag. If I go out to a site and there are people working out there and we have no compliance documents on those particular subcontractors, that's a huge red flag. Okay. So please get your documents in a timely manner. Documents not uploaded under the correct document type in LCP Tracker, red flag. That it will be rejected and have to submit all over again. Contractors that don't submit timely corrective actions, it's a red flag. Substantial noncompliance will result in payment withholding. Failure to comply with Section 3 program rules will result in withheld payment draws. Termination of contract. At any time, failure to comply contractual agreement terms can result in HCDD temporary suspending and or termination of the contract. Then we have the suspension, debarment, suspension, or limited denial of participation. Upon termination, HCDD will also include the contractors on that nationwide, debarred, and suspended list of contractors. Our project closeout evaluation. Project closeout evaluation. This evaluation is conducted to evaluate the prime contractor's achievement of Section 3 numeric goal requirements, compliance requirements. Deficiencies to meet numeric goal compliance requirements may be corrected by the prime contractor within 14 business days following the receipt of the closeout report. Lack of corrective action will be deemed as the prime's inability or unwillingness to do so. Some of our Section 3 frequently asked questions. These are some of our frequently asked questions. We can go over some of them. One of them at the top here is, how are the terms low income and very low income determined? Low income and very low income household limits are determined annually by HUD. These limits are typically established at the 80% and 50% of the median income for each locality and by the household size or the number of people residing in one household. When does a business certification expire? A Section 3 certification expires in 3 years. So it's good for 3 years. These frequently asked questions, there are quite a few of them. I suggest and I always encourage everyone to go through these frequently asked questions, because even if you have not thought of these questions, it may be something that can help you in your compliance. Here are more frequently asked questions here. Which again, can just like I said, I encourage that you go through them all. Okay. And these are some resource links as well. These resource links, I encourage, if this is with HUD, with the federal regulations, our Section 3 frequently asked questions through HUD. And then we have our Housing and Community Development Department Section 3 website as well. And then there are comments and questions. As I said, that you can include your comments and questions in our chat box, and we will get those comments and those answers to you. We're getting close to time, so let me go ahead and, basically this concludes my presentation. Remember, please complete that survey. The link to the survey should be in our chat. Also, remember that a copy of this presentation will be available on our website in approximately 2 weeks. The link to the website is also noted in the chat for your convenience. Remember that the key to compliance is communications. Next, we will have Andres Melgoza presenting the MWSBE Technical Assistance Training, and that will begin at 10:30. Again, I want to thank you for attending this presentation and enjoy the rest of your day.
Patricia, we have quite a few questions in the chat box that wasn't answered. If we can try to answer those questions before Andreas present.
Okay. Let's see.
So Tasha McDaniel say, what if your income currently qualifies for Section 3 but is not reflected on last year's tax return?
Well, there are as far as a worker, a Section 3 worker, right?
Yes.
Am I understanding that correctly? Okay, as far as a Section 3 worker, in the Section 3 worker application, there are other instances that you can qualify under. It's not just by income. So that could be some other instances. Say, for instance, if your income was not what it is now, 2-3 years ago, long as it was within that 5-year period, you can qualify. Does that answer the question?
And then the next one, I think someone answered, she wanted to understand if the award was less than 100,000, but there are change orders that increase the contract value to more than 100,000, Section 3 would then be required. Yes, section 3 will be
Yes.
required once
At
it
that
includes.
point. Once that
Um,
change order is in effect.
and then
That's why those
Donna,
change orders are they're very important to put them in LCP trackers so we can monitor that as we go.
how should we handle workers who refuse to complete and sign forms? So you want to make sure that when you are creating your contract agreements, you want to put some leverage in your contract agreement that
Absolutely.
possibly say that if your subcontractors fail to comply with applicable program requirements, then you can definitely terminate the contract. So you want to make sure that you are putting language into your contract in case you have to terminate a contract because subcontractors fail to comply with these program requirements.
Exactly.
And then Joni said, where can we download the Section 3 doc forms? So Joni, I provided an email to you with the post-award compliance form packet. So you'll be able to retrieve those Section 3 forms from the contract compliance form packet.
Yes. And my information should be in there as well. So if anyone needs copies of those forms, they can just contact me or any one of us, and we can get those forms to you. Okay.
So HUD allows businesses to self-certify as Section 3, but the City of Houston requires Section 3 business to be certified through Houston and does not accept self-certification. Is that correct? That's correct. We only allow certified businesses through the City of Houston Housing Community Development Department.
Right. Right. Are there any other questions? We got them all, Keisha?
Looks like we got them all because Andreas and Carolyn, they were answering
some of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And just like I said, my information is there. If anyone needs to contact me, please do so. Exactly. Okay. Is that it?
Thank you, Patricia.
All righty. Thank you. Let's see if I can get this.
Good morning, everyone. Before we get started here, I would like to ask that all the attendees mute their mics, please. We are getting some background feedback there. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Andres Malgoza. I am one of the MWSBE contract administrators for the City of Houston's Housing and Community Development Department. I'll be going over the MWSBE requirements for the current and future projects. Please note that this presentation is being recorded for training purposes. Should you have any questions, please write them in the chat box so they can be addressed. Also, we ask that you please complete the survey from the link in the chat box for you to provide your feedback on the presentation so we can better assist you in the future. Please be sure that your contact information is listed in the chat box if you did not register so that a copy can be provided to you at a later time. This presentation will also be uploaded to the city's website here in about a couple of weeks. So here we have the division contact information. We have Kenesha London, Deputy Director, as well as Crystal Boyce, Division Manager. We have the MWSBE team members here. We have myself, Carolyn, Felicia, as well as Tiffany here. Discussion topics. We have the MWSBE policy overview. We have the MWSBE certification benefits, the commonly used MWSBE terms, B2G Now participation and payment tracker, LCP tracker document submission portal, contract agreements, compliance forms packet, deviation requests, contractor performance, and the closeout evaluation. Some of the benefits of being MWSBE certified. Being MWSBE certified, your company will be listed on the Office of Business Opportunity through that link there at houston.mwdbe.com. That will give you access to the entire directory of all certified MWSBE businesses for the City of Houston. You'll also get advantage in procurement selection processes. You'll receive regular alerts of networking and contract opportunities. Your company profile is listed in the city's online directory. You'll also have the opportunity to bid on goal-oriented contracts. You'll be covered under the City of Houston's Chapter 15 ordinance. It adds trust to the services offered by your company, as well as other Texas certification agencies except the City of Houston's MWDBE certification.
Right.
So the policy overview. So what is the policy of the City of Houston to strengthen minority, women-owned small business enterprise participation during all phases of contracts? The objective is to ensure local firms are afforded equal opportunities that promote utilization and eliminate discrimination. HCDD contracts must comply with federal procurement regulations, which mandates contracts to include all necessary affirmative steps to ensure that minority, women-owned, and small business enterprises are utilized to the maximum capacity. As a result, HCDD contracts must adhere to local and federal requirements as it relates to minority, women-owned small business enterprises. So some of the commonly used MWSBE terms we have here is general contractor or the prime contractor, which is the main contractor responsible for the overall coordination of the project. That includes communication with all involved parties concerning site activity, change orders, and subcontractor participation. A subcontractor is going to be a contractor hired to perform portions of the work on a contract of the general contractor. Supplier is simply a company that supplies a product. Your lower tier is going to be a firm or an individual that received work under subcontractor that sublets a part of their contract. The good faith efforts, those are the steps that are taken to demonstrate the efforts to meet the MWBE goal requirements by the prime contractor. MWSBE stands for the Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise. We have goal-oriented project, which is a competitive bid project with a MWBE goal requirement. Start of work, or SOW, and TOW, termination of work. Goal achievement. So after the prime contractor is awarded project on a goal-oriented project, compliance can only be achieved by meeting the goal requirements or demonstrating acceptable good faith efforts in an attempt to meet the goal. So for more information on the acceptable good faith efforts, you can go ahead and view that link. You can also go to OBO's site and take a look at the good faith efforts PDF document. If you also require this PDF document, you can definitely go ahead and reach out to myself or another contract administrator, and we would be happy to provide that information to you. Only firms certified through the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity Participation can be credited towards participation goals. So therefore, we do have some projects where some contractors believe that they can go ahead and utilize a subcontractor for goal credit because they are certified. However, if they're not certified specifically through the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity, we cannot go ahead and utilize their participation towards the goal on the project. MBE and WBE goals are separated and must be met individually. So just as Lakeisha had mentioned on some of these construction projects where we may have a goal of 34%, or in this case, on this example here of 40.33% is the overall goal with 25.68% MBE and 14.65% WBE. The requirements of the prime contractor are to meet each of those goals individually. So you may take a look at the B2G Now payment system and see that you're well above your MBE. However, if you're falling short of your WBE goal, we will take that as you are not meeting the required goal on the project, which must be met individually. LCP tracker. So following a pre-construction and or kickoff meeting, a compliance monitor will create the project profile and assign the prime contractor as the prime approver. The prime contractor will be responsible for assigning each sub and supplier to the project in LCP Tracker. The prime will also have the capability to review each document submitted by contractors for approval. The information required to set up a contractor assignment would be found on the compliance forms packet cover sheet. Each contractor must be assigned to a project in order to submit the required compliance documents. So following some of the pre-construction meetings, we'll typically ask for the primary and secondary points of contact of the prime contractor so we can go ahead and set up the system, set up the project in the system. At that point, once we assign that project to those primary and secondary contacts, it will be the prime contractor's responsibility to add these subs into the system. This isn't something that we as the contract administrators do. This is specifically for the prime. If you're a subcontractor, supplier, or consultant on the call and you're wondering why you're not in LCP Tracker, I highly recommend that you reach out to the prime contractor so that you can go ahead and request that information. Attendees, can you please mute your mics? Going back to that, the prime contractor is responsible for doing so. Also, in some situations, we do have projects where they are split between city and county. And sometimes we're hearing from the subcontractor that they're not in the system. However, the prime is saying they are. So sometimes we are seeing where the sub is added to the county side, not necessarily the city side. So that is something to take note of for any prime contractor who has a job with the county and the city. Post-award compliance requirements. So the contractor setup is a two-process setup. When we go ahead and have the contractor add these contracts or add these subcontractors to LCP Tracker, as you can see here, the highlighted information, as well as those with asterisks, are required to be entered into LCP Tracker. Here once again are the prime contractor steps to assign the project. We'll be logging into the system, going to the setup tab from the toolbar and add edit contractors. So these steps here, once this presentation does go out, you'll be able to follow the step-by-step instructions listed here to be able to successfully add your subcontractors, suppliers, and consultants to your project. Steps for uploading documents. So all documents are uploaded through LCP Tracker. Following the pre-construction meeting and kickoff meetings, we generally send off the compliance packet, which includes all of the required forms, as well as the steps for uploading the documents that you will also see here on the screen. So as you can see, for step one, the documents that we are typically seeing are PDFs. However, we will also accept Excel forms and doc forms and TIFF forms. So once again, once you have those documents, you're going to go to your setup. You're going to edit your document, enter the required fields, and upload the document under the appropriate file name. Just as my Section 3 counterpart had mentioned, it is extremely important that you upload those documents with the correct file name. If you upload it and sometimes we have names missing or it's just completely incorrect, we will reject that document and ask you to go ahead and resubmit that document in the correct section with the correct file name. So for uploading the documents, just as I stated there, you're going to go to e-documents in the upper section of LCP Tracker, and then you can go to upload documents. Here on the upload document section is where you'll be filling out the information such as the contractor, if you're a sub to anybody, what the document type is. As you can see there, it says it's an annual contractor verification. So each of these documents is required to be uploaded into specific areas and sections of LCP Tracker. I'll be going over that here later on in this presentation, and you can also refer to the compliance packet that'll have all this information in there for the specific locations of where these documents are to be uploaded. And here are those locations. So as you can see, the contractor verification, you'll have your request for clearance form with your SAM results attached, the barred vendor list and conflict of interest forms. We have shared compliance forms, which would consist of your compliance cover sheet, start of work, termination of work, and any letters of explanation. Your subcontractor agreement section, which obviously we're going to be uploading, or you would be uploading your subcontractors' contracts, as well as any purchase orders that you may have with suppliers that would fall in place as your subcontract. So we have the upload description guide here, and this is for the multifamily homes, public facilities, things of that nature. You'll see here that the description guide of how things are to be labeled, SAM verification with your year, debarred vendor list with your year, COI with your year. Reason being is we do have some projects that have carried on for 2, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even more. So we're tracking these annual documents for the past 5 years. We need to know, especially for when we're audited, if anybody wants to go ahead and go into the system and take a look at a specific year and a specific document, they can easily access that document once you properly label the document you're uploading. This is the single family upload description guide. So as many are aware, we have multifamily public facilities. We also have single family homes that are being constructed. So with these single family homes, it is imperative that we have the house address first, and then we have the name of the document. So as you see for the shared compliance forms there, we have the project house address and then compliance cover sheet. Project house address, start of work, project house address, termination of work, so that everything will fall in line when we're able to view these documents. When the auditors come in and they're looking for a specific document, we need to make sure that it is properly and correctly labeled. Once again, this information for the descriptions and locations is within the MWSBE compliance packet. B2G Now payment reporting and MWSBE participation tracker. So after the project is awarded, there is a profile for the project in B2G Now where this will be used for payment and participation tracking of certified and non-certified firms. The assigned MWSBE coordinator will be responsible for adding contracts to B2G Now. The prime contractor is required to enter payments to subs and suppliers within 5 days of payment receipt from the city. Subcontractors, suppliers, and professional service providers are required to confirm payments entered by the prime. Those last 2 items there are extremely, extremely important. We have some projects where maybe the project is moving along. Everything is being performed great, but we're not getting those payments of the subs confirmed in the system. So if a prime has, as an example, paid a subcontractor $100,000 for the month of March, that prime needs to enter that $100,000 payment for the month of March to that subcontractor. That subcontractor, in turn, will receive an email from B2G Now that states that a payment was made to them for this month, and they are required to log into the system to confirm that payment. So it's simply going in there, clicking yes, confirmed, and then moving on. Now, if you see a payment listed there for $100,000, but the payment you actually received was only for $10,000, well, you can go ahead and state a discrepancy in the number that's listed there and indicate what the reason is for the discrepancy, attach any documentations that you may have for backup, and I can go ahead and go into the system and clarify that, and also make any changes to the system so that those payments are accurately reported. Another key item here is that on this first line, we're talking about payments and participation tracking for certified and non-certified firms. One thing to reiterate here is that the MWSBE compliance forms are required from all companies, certified and non-certified, on your project. So you may have a project where we see 100 subcontractors on the job and maybe only a dozen of them are certified. We still need those compliance packets for all non-certified companies. Because these projects are goal oriented, in order for us to determine the exact percentage being subbed out to these contractors and what they're being paid, we need to be able to track the payments and compliance documents for all on the job. So it's imperative that you, as a prime contractor, notify your subs, certified or not, and regardless of the dollar amount, they are all required to adhere to the MWSBE requirements and submit all required documentation and confirm all payments in the B2G Now system. Automated compliance audit process. So the way that it works with B2G is that we have the internal finance system of SAP will populate the payments made to the prime. The prime is notified via email. The prime will then enter any payments for the subs. Subcontractor is notified via email. Subcontractor confirms or rejects those payments, and then that completes the month. If the subcontractor rejects a payment, the subcontractor and prime are notified via email of the discrepancy. If there's a discrepancy in the payments that are entered for that reporting month that need to be discussed, by all means, go ahead and give me a call, send me an email, provide the backup documentation so that I can understand what's going on, what the true payment should be, and go into the system to go ahead and fix that and clarify what the true dollar amount is to be for the project. Access to contracts in B2G. So you're going to be logging into B2G with your company credentials. You're going to go to the dashboard and click the contract, and you're going to have a list of all your active projects. So as you see there, there's 3 active projects. Simply click on the specific project that you're looking for, that you received an email on, to be able to determine your payments. Prime contractor payment process. The prime can report individual payments or subcontractor payments all at once. So we set these projects up in B2G so that the prime contractor can submit to the subs, can submit to lower tier subs, can submit all payments on the project. So prime contractor, at the end of every month, that month will open up for auditing purposes, and you will be able to go in there and submit the payments made to your firm for that month. So, right now March is open. I ask that you go in there and make sure that all payments are entered. And if any payments are entered, your sub should be receiving an email for them to go in there and confirm those payments. The subcontractors will continue to receive monthly emails if they have not confirmed those payments. So if the prime contractor reported a payment to them in, say, November, then that subcontractor is getting monthly emails notifying them that they need to go into the system and either confirm or reject that payment. Sometimes the B2G system generated emails are known to go to your spam or junk mail. So that's something that I would like to ask all to take a look at is your spam junk mail. Make sure that all payments are entered. If you're a sub working on a job and you know you're being paid, it's a good idea to go into that system to confirm, to double check, to say, you know, hey, you paid me $100,000. I received the check, but it's not in the B2G system. Kindly ask your prime contractor to go ahead and update that system so we can accurately determine if that prime is or is not meeting that MWSBE requirement. Subcontractor payment confirmation process, as stated here, the amount reported by the prime for July of 17 was $5,000. That subcontractor simply needs to state, is this correct or is this incorrect? If it's correct, you simply click that. Is this the final payment? No, our work continues. If there is retainage being held on the project, you could state that. If not, you can click no and save. So if you're being paid $5,000, it's very, very simple for the subcontractors to go in there and just, you know, click confirm, click a couple of those radio buttons and hit save. That will help out a great deal because once again, in order to be compliant with MWSBE, you're required to upload all your documents into LCP Tracker and have them correct and approved, as well as all payments in B2G need to be entered and confirmed. You may be fully compliant on one, but substantially non-compliant on the other, and that will be a cause for withholding payment on the job. The compliance forms packet. So the compliance packet for certified and non-certified firms. So we have the annual documents, which consist of your conflicts of interest, your Texas Controller debarred vendor list, and your request for clearance form with your SAM results attached. We also have the reoccurring document, which would be your monthly utilization plans for certified and non-certified firms. Your one-time initial documents could be your utilization schedule, utilization plan, compliance cover sheet, request for contractor clearance form, start of work, termination of work, executed contract agreements with the mediation clause, SAM verification with the company name, principal owners, and EIN search, and Texas Controller debarred list. So the reason that these are listed here on the annual documents, as well as some of them on the one-time documents, is because if you're a contractor, prime or sub, and your project is only scheduled to run for a year, then really it's just a one-time initial document that we would need these documents. It's where your scope of work or as a prime contractor, you're working on a project where that project has been going on for a couple of years. That's when it's going to be essentially an annual document that we're going to need those annually from you. The utilization schedule. The utilization schedule is required by the prime contractor only. Subcontractors do not need to submit this utilization schedule. The utilization schedule is a forecast of your company's utilization of certified firms to meet the participation goal on the project. A projection of monies to be allocated to certified firms for each month of the project, and this form must be completed and submitted for review and approval before the start of work and each time there is a change to the plan. A new plan must be submitted when submitting a deviation request and responding to a not meeting goal letter. So just as it states there, we need this before construction on the project starts. You'll have one for construction, one for any professional services, and one for purchasing, dealing with any suppliers. So once again, this is only required by the prime contractor. Also, when this is provided to us at the beginning of the project, you can go ahead and submit the forecasted dollar amounts that you are anticipating to spend for the certified firms. So if your project starts today and you're anticipating of spending $10,000 in May for a demo and earthwork sub and $50,000 in June, you can go ahead and list those forecasted dates. It's when you're submitting a revised utilization schedule, let's say you have a deviation request, well, we need a utilization schedule with that. If you're submitting a utilization schedule and work has already commenced on the project, all payments prior to that date of submission are required to be the firm dollar amounts that were presented to your certified firms, and anything moving forward can be forecasted. We have the compliance cover sheet. So as you can see, this is simply a accept or reject document. On the left side, we have green, it's accepted, it's filled out entirely. On the red, it is not. We're still missing information such as a NACES code. It is extremely important that the NACES code is listed there and it is a correct NACES code. Every contractor that is entered into the B2G payment system has to be entered with the NACES code. So, in this one, if you're doing concrete and paving, but you happen to list a NACES code that has to do with drywall, once we enter the project in the system and enter the contractor in the system, this will be a cause for rejection. The NACES code and the services provided must coincide with one another. Also, on this compliance cover sheet, whoever you list as your company contact email, note that they will be the point of contact in the B2G system when we add this sub to the project. So here it's listing Jane Doe at BBB Construction. So when the prime makes a sub payment to Jane Doe with this email address would receive the email for her to go in there and confirm those payments. So it is extremely important that you list a contact here that can and will be confirming those payments. Sometimes it's best to also have an alternate contact person. We have the option to go ahead and add a primary and secondary contact. So this way no one's missing anything. But it is extremely important that whoever you list there for your contact is, for one, an employee of that company, and two, will be the person to accept or reject the payments in the B2G Now system. This, once again, is the compliance cover sheet here. This form must be completed and submitted within 5 business days upon the execution of the contract agreement and/or purchase order by all contractors, suppliers, and consulting firms. All fields are required to be completed except for the pre-existing LCP tracker user ID, fax number, and certification type. Okay, so this document, along with your fully executed contract, are the 2 items that we need in order to add a sub to the B2G Now system. So a lot of the time we'll get contacted by the prime or subcontractors to say, hey, I don't have access to B2G. Okay, well, let me take a look and I'll see that, well, we don't have a copy of your fully executed contract in LCP Tracker, or we don't have a copy of your compliance cover sheet, one or the other. Those are the 2 requirements to add the company into the system. So without those 2, we cannot add them. So please make sure that your sub has both those documents in the system in order to be added to B2G. The request for prime contractor and subcontractor clearance forms. These must be submitted by the prime contractor and for every contractor, supplier, lower tier sub, consulting firm, etc., intended to perform on a project. The date must reflect the same year when the SAM verification result was conducted. The request for clearance form and all generated SAM verification results must be combined in one PDF format. So when you're filling out these forms, you're listing the principals. If you have more than one principal, then each of those principals must be searched. If you've got 5, you've got to search for each 5 of those. This is required by all companies, whether you're a consultant, a sub, or the contractor. We check the verification, we check the results to make sure that the company or the individuals working on this job who are listed as principals are not federally debarred from working on this job. So it's imperative that we get this information prior to the start date of the company. I think the last thing anybody wants is to have a company working on the job, and then all of a sudden come to find out, we have a principal that's on the debarred list of the System of Award Management for federally funded projects, and now we have to rectify that issue on the job. So please make sure that the searches are conducted correctly per the instructions in the on this sheet here, where it gives the instructions at the top of the page, as well as there's going to be specific instructions that are included in the MWSBE compliance packet. The SAM verification. To work on a federally funded project, a search must be conducted on the following credentials: the full company name, principal owners, and employee identification number. Search results in the request for clearance form must be uploaded to LCP Tracker for all contractors and suppliers. No contractor should be executed with the prime contractor, subcontractor, or supplier until their eligibility has been verified. So the site now requires the creation of an account to conduct the searches. So just please be sure when you go into that system, you log in and then conduct your searches. If you do not log in, it'll note that when you save those search results as a PDF, and that will be a cause for rejection. Also, when performing these SAM verifications, please make sure that your request for clearance form as well as your search results are all uploaded within 1 month of the search being conducted. Reason being is that you may have, if you ran these searches for these principal owners and company name 3-6 months ago, and maybe at that time there was no exclusions for those individuals, but we need those results within a month, because we need to determine now, not 6 months ago, but now, if anybody is going to be federally debarred from that. So once again, how to retrieve the SAM verification: you're going to go to sam.gov. You're going to sign in the top right corner. You're going to click the accept button. You're going to navigate to the header menu and select the search. On the search page, you're going to navigate to the left side of the bar, select the plus icon, and to the right, and select domain. So for entity information, that's a big thing there. Entity information is what needs to be selected. A lot of times we're seeing people submit as all entities or others that are listed there without any information, and that is a cause for rejection. Please also make sure that when searching, you've checked the any words box. Not all words, not exact phrase, but any words. Then you're going to enter the information, the company name, conduct a search, download the first 3 to 4 pages, make sure that they're date stamped, and then erase that and then move on. If you're going to list the principals, search one principal at a time. Search Jane Doe, get the results, then delete it. Then search John Doe, then delete it. Do not put all the information to have it search at one time. It will generate incorrect results. Once again, here's your SAM verification. You may search a name, and if it's a common name of a John Smith, you may see 1,000 pages of results. All we need is the first 3 to 4 pages. You're going to upload all the results generated along with the request for clearance form into one document. So there's times, depending on how many principals you have, we may be receiving a document that's 50 pages. That's perfectly fine, as long as the searches are being conducted correctly. You have the vendor debarred list. So proof of non-debarment from the state controller's office must be provided by the prime, sub, suppliers, consulting firms, and lower tiers. The document must include a date from the website when the search was conducted. Do not manually write the date on the document. That is extremely important. Sometimes we see vendor debarred list from 2023. Well, once again, that's not uploaded within a month of viewing this document. So how do I know that 6 months ago the company wasn't on there, but maybe they could be on there today? So this is why we need these documents, these annual documents, to be within 1 month of the upload date. For retrieving your debarred vendor list, you're simply going to go to the controller.texas.gov/purchasing website, scroll down to the procurement resources, and click search for CNBL Hub vendors. You're going to click the debarred vendor list on the left-hand side. Debarred vendor list will appear. Control P to print or save it as a PDF. And ensure that the date is on the list. If you upload this document into LCP Tracker, you could upload it in the correct location, have the correct description. But if you do not have a date stamp on there, that will be a cause for rejection. Or if you have a date stamp from January or February, that will also be a cause for rejection. Once again, it's a pass or fail here. So as long as you've uploaded it correctly with the date stamp, and we see that the company that this form is for is not on that debarred vendor list, we will go ahead and accept it and note that on the CSR. Conflict of interest disclosure. This is another annual document. This form will help ensure full disclosure and no personal interest that violate program rules. The document must include either a wet or electronic signature. The document must include a date, Do not write in the area below the blue line for program staff use only. So only fill out name of organization, the address, yes or no, and then fill out the applicant signatures there. You're going to have the signature in the by box there for this form. And one thing to keep in mind when some of these forms are being signed, if they're being signed electronically, we are seeing some of the signatures hidden behind these boxes. So I ask that if you're going to be submitting it and signing it electronically, that you make sure that those signatures are brought to the front of this form. Once again, we have the acceptable form on the left and the incorrect form on the right because we do not have signatures or a title on the document, as well as an address. Start of work. This form must be completed by the prime contractors, sub-suppliers, and professional service providers as a notice of commencement of work. The document must include both the prime contractor and subcontractor's name. Document must include month, day, year. Things that we will not accept on this will be TBD, estimated, or January of 2024. We need to have a month, day, year listed on this, as well as a signature. If this is not correctly or properly filled out, this will be a cause for rejection, and we will ask you to revise and resubmit the document. The start of work notices, because we cannot accept estimated or to be determined, my advice is that this form be uploaded when you are actually starting work. If you've got a start date, as an example of next Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday of next week, I would recommend you upload this form. The reason that we don't want it uploaded too early on is on a lot of these construction projects, as we all are aware, dates tend to slip, things come up depending on the weather. So this is why I ask that you do not upload this document until you are actually starting on the job, maybe the day of the start, because these start dates affect not just MWSBE, but other compliance counterparts as well. So sometimes it may indicate that if this date of January 20th of 23, that's going to be the date that we're going to start expecting to see payroll for that date. So if you do not have a firm date and you don't actually start that date, that could cause an issue down the line. Utilization plan. All contractors, prime, sub, and suppliers are responsible for submitting a utilization plan prior to the start of work. All contractors must submit a utilization plan once every month until the termination of work. The prime must include all subs, suppliers, professional services on their monthly utilization plan once they've started. Subcontractors who hire lower tiers must include those subs on their monthly utilization plan. The utilization plan is a running tally of all contractors who start work on the project to date. Contractors should not delete any subs from the monthly plan. So if you've got contractors that have started in or prior to the reporting month, let's say for April of 24, if you have any subs that started in or prior to April of 2024, they are required to be on your April 2024 monthly utilization plan. And once again, just like it states, do not remove anybody, even if they have a termination of work of last year. You're still going to keep them on that list. This is simply a running tally. If we see that a contractor, a sub started in April of 24, and we take a look at your April 24 monthly plan and they're not on there, we will reject that document. And also, there is times where we'll see a sub submit a start of work date that says they started in January. Well, now we're already in April. I'll go back and take a look at that January monthly plan of that prime. If that sub is not on there, I will have to reject that January, and that prime will have to go back and revise and resubmit that January plan. So it's imperative that the prime knows when the subs are starting, as well as the sub is notifying the prime of when they're starting, so that we have these monthly plans all accurate. I know we've had some recent projects where we've had to go back and reject 6 months of monthly plans because we're getting start of work documents and these subs started sometime last year. So it does cause a great deal of confusion and a lot more work on all ends. So I ask that you please be diligent with following up with your subs, and your subs also following up with your primes. So on these utilization plans, If you are not self-performing, if you have a lower tier such as Jones Construction, they would be listing that they are not self-performing the work, and they would be listing below that, below the blue line, their subcontractor as well as their EIN, contract amount, percent, address, phone, and email. If you are self-performing, you simply check the self-performing box for yes, and there is no need to fill out the bottom portion of this monthly utilization plan. Contract agreements. Contract agreement and/or purchase orders can be executed with every subcontractor, supplier, and professional service provider, including lower tier subs participating on a project. Contract agreement and/or purchase order must include the following: your scope of work, your contract amount, signatures and dates for the prime and the sub, the addresses of the homes, and the mediation clause. These are all requirements in order for your contract to be accepted by MWSBE. If you have all these items, but you do not have the mediation clause included, that will be a cause for rejection. Unless you're simply just a supplier on the project and you're not going to be performing any actual work, that is the only time that the mediation clause is not going to be required. All other work and anybody that's going to be performing labor on the job is required to have that included in the subcontract in one way or another. Sometimes we see them attached as the very last page. Sometimes some companies actually choose to take that language and put it within the document. Some attach the entire compliance packet to the subcontract, which, as long as it fulfills the requirement of including that mediation clause, that prime and sub have fulfilled the requirement of what's needed for this agreement to be accepted. Once again, this is the mediation clause that's required to be a part of all subcontractors' contracts. This simply states that the sub will not subcontract more than 50% of the work without notifying the city of Houston. It's also stating that any sub working on the project would have their books open for potentially 4 years in case there needs to be any auditing on the project. And it's also stating that that the contractor and sub would designate a point of contact for any and all items affecting Chapter 15 of the Houston City Code of Ordinance. Once again, this information is required for every single subcontractor. We use this where if we see a discrepancy between a prime and a certified sub or a sub on the job, we as Housing and Community Development like to hold a conference call, try to get both parties on the line and see if we can't come to a resolution before having the matter moved to the Office of Business Opportunity. Termination of work notice. So this form must be completed by the prime, sub, suppliers, professional services, anybody on the project. This document must include the month, day, year when the work has finished. Termination of work notices submitted with the following language will be rejected. TBD estimated in January of 2024. Once again, these dates for terminations of work do affect not just MWSBE, but everybody in compliance as a whole. So it's extremely important that we have the correct termination of work notices here. Work on hold notices. It is not part of the MWSBE Section 3 or player play programs. This is specific to DBRA. Thus, if you have a project and you have a work on hold for 6 months, we're still going to require 6 months of your monthly utilization plan and all compliance documents. Single family prime contractor requirements. You must submit an executed contract agreement, contract cover sheet, a utilization plan, start of work notice, and termination for every project address. So that's key. It's for every project address. There's some single family homes where some contractors are working on 6 projects right now, and maybe next year they have 20. We will need all the compliance documents for every project address. The only documents that we don't need for every address would be the annual documents, such as the request for contractor and subcontractor clearance form with your SAM results, your debarred vendor list, and your conflict of interest. Those items are only required on an annual basis, thus not specifically required per address. Single family subcontractor requirements example. So here we have the example for the 2 roads, the 2 home addresses with what's required, compliance cover sheet, start of work, UPs, contract, and terminations of work for both. These are required for each. The only documents that are annual are the request for clearance, debarred vendor, and conflict of interest form. Deviation requests. So deviation requests are needed anytime that you are going to remove or reduce or add a certified firm. So you've all have submitted your, as the prime, the initial participation plan. That is what we monitor off of. And those are the certified MWSBE firms you are receiving credit for. If you are looking to submit a deviation request to remove a certified firm and replace them, this is where we will need all information. There is a series of questions that are required to be answered, as well as the utilization schedule that is going to be required to be resubmitted. So, and anytime you want to add a firm, if you've got a contractor on the job and you don't necessarily, you're not falling behind on your goal, but you want to go ahead and add as many firms as possible so that there is no issue later on. When the project comes to an end, you can simply do that. Once again, you're going to be answering these series of questions of who you're adding, why you're adding, what scope of work, what their contract amount is, what their certification is. These series of questions can be sent to you once you provide me the information and discuss with your MWSB administrator on the cause for your deviation. The ongoing monitoring. So there will be random site visits that will be conducted on the project. Compliance documents will be compared with the information gathered from interviewing employees and site action. Documents submitted for reporting and monitoring purposes by all contractors will be reviewed for accuracy and compliance with requirements. And the prime contractor will be notified of any items identified as non-compliant via email by the 5th of every month. Commercially useful function audits. So a CUF audit is authorized by the City of Houston's Code of Ordinances under Chapter 15, Article 5, Section 15-80 feet. So when I arrive on site and I do my monthly site visits, if there are certified firms on the project, I will be conducting a commercially useful function audit. What that means is for all these certified firms, we need to determine whether the company is performing a real or actual service that is distinct and verifiable element of work called for in the contract, whether the company has the skill and expertise to perform the work, whether it is in business of performing, managing, or supervising the work for which it has been certified and is being utilized, and whether it is certified in the NACIS code to which it is performing. So when we arrive, if I determine that there is a certified firm on the project that I need to conduct a CUF audit on, I will notify the prime contractor once I arrive on site and go into the direction of where that gentleman is for that certified company and go ahead and conduct my audit and interview of that employee and the company. Once again, these CUF audits are only for certified firms on the project. Contractor performance, we have the red flags where the prime contractor fails to meet the goal and requirements and does not demonstrate acceptable good faith efforts. The prime fails to submit required compliance documents. The prime fails to review and or submit accurate compliance documents for the subs and suppliers. And the prime fails to complete monthly payment audits in B2G. Prime fails to submit a deviation request to remove gold credited firms. And the prime fails to comply with the program requirements. Substantial noncompliance. The contractor fails to comply with the program requirements and the compliance monitor may recommend withholding of payment draws. As some of the prime contractors who may be on the call are aware, this has been an ongoing issue here where you must be compliant with your documents and B2G now. If you are substantially non-compliant with one or the other, we will be holding payment on these projects. If the contractor fails to comply with the terms of the contract documents, HCDD may temporarily suspend or terminate the contract at any time. Suspension and debarment. Upon termination, HCDD may also include contractors on nationwide debarred and suspended list of contractors. So it is extremely important that you are compliant, because if you're non-compliant and you may receive a rating at the end of the project, and if you're not receiving these ratings of at least, substantial, you're going to be giving a rating that may potentially affect your future work. So it is imperative that we make sure that all compliance documents are entered and B2G payments are entered and confirmed in the system. pending closeout project activities. So when a project comes to closeout, when site activities are completed under the contract terms, contractors should submit a termination of work notice for any and all subs and prime. The final payment in B2G should also be marked as final. Retainage payments must be entered into BTG by the contractors with the total amount of retainage being held. A project cannot be closed out with any outstanding compliance audits. Outstanding audits are a result of unconfirmed payments and unreported payments and payment discrepancies. So I know there's a lot of projects that are coming to an end right now. What I've been telling everybody is if your project is coming to an end, we ask that you submit any and all compliance documents related to that project in LCP Tracker. Once the final payment is sent to us, as an example, professional services contract. If I receive the final invoice, I need to make sure that you've submitted and uploaded and I've approved every single thing in LCP Tracker and all your documents, as well as every payment in B2G has been entered for your subs and confirmed. Once those are 100% complete, then I can give my recommendation for releasing of the final payment. Once the prime receives that final payment, you're going to enter in B2G any final payments made to your subs for them to confirm those last payments. Once everything has been 100% reported and confirmed, I can begin the closeout process on the project. Project closeout and evaluation. And closeout evaluation consists of evaluating the prime contractor's MWBE goal and compliance with program requirements. Subcontractors' performance may impact evaluation ratings of the contractor. Once again, like I said, if you receive, depending on the rating and depending on where you are with your MWBE goal, that could greatly, greatly affect that company being awarded any work in the future. We have the resource links there. Are there any comments and questions regarding the MWBE presentation? Okay, well, this concludes the MWSBE section of the Technical Assistance Training for Contractors. If there are no further questions, I would like, once again, ask that you click on the survey link in the chat box to provide your feedback so we can better assist you in the future. Please be sure that your contact information is listed in the chat box if you did not register, so that a copy can be provided to you at a later date once the recording is available. And this presentation will also become available on the city's YouTube channel. If you have any questions following the presentation or in the future, please contact myself or any other MWSBE contract administrator to assist you with any questions you may have. Coming up, we have LaQuinta Burton representing Pay Your Play with her presentation beginning at 11:30.
Hello and good morning. My name is LaQuinta Burton. I am one of the Pay or Play Administrative Coordinators for the Housing and Community Development Department. I will be going over the POP requirements for all current and future projects. Before I begin, please note some housekeeping rules. This presentation is being recorded for training purposes. Please stay on mute throughout the presentation. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box so that they may be addressed and answered at a later time. We are collecting feedback on how we performed in our presentation to provide you an even better experience. We ask that you please complete the survey using the link provided in the chat box. If you do not register for this training, please be sure to enter your contact information in the chat box so that a copy of the presentation can be provided to you at a later time. This presentation will also be posted on the HCD website and our YouTube channel in a few weeks. Kanisha London is the Deputy Director for Compliance and Grants Administration Division, while Crystal Boyce is our Division Manager for Contract Compliance. Crystal oversees the pre-award services and leads a team of professionals who administer affordable rental housing compliance, Section 3, Pay or Play, and minority-owned women, small business enterprise, also known as MWSBE programs. Lakeisha Tates is the Administrative Manager for Pre-Award Services and the Pay or Play program. Leslie Joseph and I are the Pay or Play Administrative Coordinators who oversee contracts for POP compliance on all housing community development projects in compliance with Executive Order 1-7. If you have any questions or concerns about POP compliance requirements and we are not available, please contact our supervisor, Lakeisha Tates, and our information will be provided in the chat box. During this presentation, we will cover the following topics: POP program definitions, POP program requirements, POP submissions in B2G Now, final POP compliance review, POP frequently asked questions, and additional resources. Now I'll be discussing the POP program definitions. I do apologize. Let me go back one screen. The City of Houston's Pay or Play program was created to level the playing field during the bid process for vendors, as the cost for providing insurance or failure to provide insurance to employees may influence vendors' bids for the city work. Furthermore, the program aims to offset the cost of caring for Houston and Harris County uninsured residents. The POP program requires City of Houston contractors to either contribute a predetermined amount to the Contract Responsibilities Fund for uninsured employees or provide a minimum level of health care coverage for their employees. For more information regarding this, you can see Executive Order 1-7. Okay, now I will be going over the POP program definitions. The Pay or Play program applies to contracts valued at or above $100,000 for prime contractors, or for subcontracts valued at or above $200,000 for subcontractors on professional service, construction, service type contracts, on-call, work orders, and job solicitations. For additional information, again, you can see Executive Order 1-7. The POP program does not apply to any contract in which the primary purpose is 51% or more for procurement or purchasing of property, leases, goods, supplies, or equipment. Any intergovernmental contracts, interlocal agreements, and bulk purchasing, any contract for which the City of Houston has not expended funds, regardless of the funding source, a contract that has been approved with a POP 4 exemption form by OBO, which is the Office of Business Opportunity, prior to the approval of the contract award that meets the requirements in the exemptions in Executive Order 1-7. Contractors that utilize self-employed, owner-operated individuals to complete services such as truck drivers, day laborers, or 1099 employees are also exempt. Please note that contractors must supply a notarized statement on their company letterhead stating the individual's names working on the contract and indicate that they are 1099 workers or day laborers and not W-2 employees. They are contract workers and therefore are exempt from the program. And this letter must be approved by OBO. POP covered employees. So POP covered employees for contractors and subcontractors, or any employee that's working on site or in the office pertaining to your particular contract, and they are over the age of 18. The employee works at least 30 hours a week for your company and any amount of time on the covered contract. This also applies to all Section 3 employees on DR-17 projects. They must also offer POP benefits to their employees. All completed POP 1, 2, and 3 forms for the prime contractor should have been submitted prior to the pre-construction phase. Now, once that occurs and the contract has started, both the prime and subcontractor must complete the POP 1 form, which is the POP acknowledgement form. All contractors that are POP applicable must submit a POP 2 certification of compliance form, which is the form that you would submit to let us know whether you're going to participate as a paid contractor, a play contractor, or you're going to participate as both. The POP 3 form is the form that lists your subcontractors that will be working on the project. This form is again filled out by the prime contractor. If there are any subcontractors that meet the threshold of the $200,000 and they have lower tier subcontractors, they are also required to submit a POP 3 form. Please note that anytime a new subcontractor is added to the project, whether it's for the prime or the subcontractor that meets POP compliance, you are required to submit an updated POP 3 form listing those subcontractors. We do have the B2G Now Access form, which is the form that should be utilized by all vendors. This is to notify us who the point of contact is, who will be responsible for monitoring your project for POP compliance. All contractors will be given access to LCP Tracker after the pre-construction meeting, and you are required to upload your POP 1, 2, and 3 forms into LCP Tracker under the POP documents folder. Please note, contractors are required to begin complying with POP compliance within 30 days of your start of work notice. This is an example of the POP 2 form, which both the prime and subcontractor must submit. Again, on the POP 2 form, in this area here, this is where you would select whether you're going to participate as pay, play, or both. Now, the reason it says both is because we do have some contractors who pay for, who have healthcare insurance for some of their employees and other employees who do not. This area at the bottom is where you will fill out an estimate number of how many employees you believe will be working on the project. And this does need to be filled out even if you have 1099 workers. Now we're going to go into the POP program requirements. In regards to the pay portion of the program, this regards weekly workforce audit submissions. Vendors will pay by contributing $1 per covered employee for each regular hour of work performed on the POP applicable contract, not to exceed $40 per employee per week. You must list all active employees, including your exempt employees, under the workforce employee list and enter their weekly workforce hours in B2G, again, for each employee. Contractors must provide both the total hours worked for the contractor and the individual hours worked on the project for each covered employee. If both columns are not completed, your workforce audit will be rejected. By adding that information, you can add each employee's hours to the workforce audit as follows. So just to explain, the total hours are the total number of hours the employee worked for the contractor for that week. The hours worked are the hours that the employee worked on the specific City of Houston project. At the end of each month, when we conduct our audits, an invoice will be created based on the hours that you've entered on your weekly workforce audit. It will be sent out to you through our system. Payments for invoices are due within 30 days, and they may be paid through our PayConnect system. Pay or Play does not accept partial payments. All invoices must be paid in full. We do ask for you to provide a copy of your certified payroll into LCP Tracker or your timesheets for each employee. We do understand that some contracts are split between the Houston Housing Authority and also, Housing Community Development and Harris County. So for the people who have DBRA or certified payroll submitted to Harris County, we do ask you to upload your certified payroll or timesheets to your weekly workforce audits in B2G. Here's an example of some situations regarding pay. So John is a covered employee who is not offered POP benefits. The employer must submit weekly workforce audits by entering John's hours into B2G. John is a covered employee and has insurance through his spouse. The employer should submit a completed and notarized POP 8 form with proof of healthcare insurance for John via email to the POP coordinator for review and approval. John is a covered employee and he has accepted the POP benefits offered to him. John will be considered a play employee and not a pay employee, and hours are not required to be submitted for John in this case. This is a glimpse of what the B2G Now system looks like when you enter your hours for pay elect contractors. We will go over this later on in the presentation. Now, the POP 8 form that I was discussing in the example with John is for an employee waiver request. An employee may be considered exempt from the POP program if they are under the age of 18, if they have healthcare insurance through their spouse, Medicaid, Medicare, and they must provide proof, or the employee refuses the healthcare insurance offered by their company that meets POP requirements. Contractors must send a completed and notarized POP 8 form to your POP administrator via email. The employee will must have an approved form on file from OBO to be exempt. Contractors may upload the POP 8 form and the required information into LCP Tracker once it has been approved. Please note that we do not accept POP 8 forms that have typed in information for the employee. The employee must fill in the affidavit area for themselves. This is an example of what a POP 8 waiver form looks like. So the top portion should be filled out by the contractor. This middle portion should be filled out by the employee in the employee's handwriting. All parts of the employee affidavit section must be completed. If the employee has healthcare insurance through another source, they would simply check the second box and provide their proof. If the employee declines coverage from the insurance of a POP applicable covered contractor, and they select the line that says, I decline coverage because, the employee must provide a legible, valid reason as to why they have declined the coverage. Simply putting no or I decline will not be acceptable, and OBO will decline this form. Additionally, the extra area here where it talks about the contribution amount, that area must be filled in as well. We also have a form called a POP 9 form. The POP 9 form is for self-insured contractors. This form is available upon a request only. So this is for employers who use their own money to cover their employees' claims. When you request this form, you will be required to submit required documents via email back to your POP coordinator for review and approval. If a contractor is awarded self-insured status, they will be classified as a play participant and will be required to report once a year. To be considered for self-insured, the contractor must have an approved POP 9 form on file from OBO. Once the form is approved, the contractor will be requested to upload the POP 9 form along with the required documents into LCP Tracker. Now we're going to discuss the play portion of the program. If a contractor chooses this option and they do meet the requirements, we will request for you to submit a POP eligibility form with a copy of your pre-printed health benefit program package that you offer to your employees detailing your coverage. So these contractors will be also required to list their employees in the B2G Now system under the workforce employee list, and the healthcare benefits must meet or exceed the following standards. The employer will contribute no less than 75% of the total premium cost per employee per month towards their total premium, and the employee will contribute, if any, no greater than 25% of the monthly premium. HCD does not accept insurance cards as proof of healthcare insurance for quarterly submissions. Please note that it is not required for you to enter the hours for a play employee. For additional information, you can see a copy of our POP frequently asked questions. The play portion of our program is reported quarterly. So play submissions should be due by the 1st of April, July 1st, and October 1st, and January 1st of each year. In order for a vendor to complete their quarterly workforce audit, we verify again that all covered employees are listed on the project, and also they are listed on the quarterly report. And this is again for the people that work on site or in the office. We do ask that you upload a copy of your completed POP 7 form listing those same active employees that are listed in B2G that work during that quarter. And the POP 7 must be accompanied by your company's healthcare insurance invoices and summaries. This is the list that names the name of the employees, as well as their coverage for the 3 months in each quarter. All documents must be uploaded into B2G to be considered for completion. If this information is uploaded into LCP Tracker, it will be rejected. We cannot approve POP 7 or completed information for quarterly reports sent to us via email. An annual benefit package may be requested if there are any questions regarding your benefits coverage. Again, we do not accept healthcare insurance cards as proof of healthcare insurance for quarterly submissions. Please note that we do have some contractors that employ employee union workers. And if you have employed employee union workers and their healthcare insurance is provided to the employee through their union, please notify your POP administrative coordinator, and they will guide you on the necessary information to supply the information for POP compliance. This screen here displays what the play submission page looks like in B2G. We'll go over this a little bit later in the presentation. This is a copy or an example of the POP 7 form that will be used for the quarterly workforce audit submissions. The contractor is required to complete the top portion of this form. We do not ask for you to put your group number, but we do ask for you to complete the contact phone number for your healthcare company. When submitting this form, again, you will list all of your employees in this column. If they are a new person that is started during the middle of your contract, you would check the new box. And in this area, you will fill in how much the employer pays per month and how much the employee pays per month. And we do ask for you to provide the coverage benefit period, which is the start and end date. Now we'll go over the POP submissions in B2G. B2G now is the management system for all POP workforce audit submissions. POP 7 and supporting documents will be submitted into the B2G now quarterly. Paid weekly workforce audits are required to be submitted into B2G weekly. Once weekly workforce audits are completed, again, a monthly invoice will be generated and sent to the contractor or subcontractor. Invoices are due within 30 days after the date the invoice is generated, and partial payments are not accepted. Currently, we utilize the Chase payment portal through B2G now, where all pay invoices are paid. We do not accept checks. And this is the link to the B2G Now website. Now we're going to go into the B2G Now overview, where we're going to discuss viewing the POP contracts in B2G, adding employees into B2G, assigning employees to the contract, submitting weekly workforce audits for paid employees, filling out the weekly workforce audits, saving and certifying those audits, submitting your quarterly workforce audits for play, uploading and attaching documents for your play audits as well. When you first log into B2G, you'll be taken to your main dashboard. To view your City of Houston contract, you can either go to the dashboard on the top where it says contracts, or on the left-hand side, and you will select the contract tab. If you select the contract tab on the left, you will select search and then enter your contract number. Once you have entered your contract number and obtained it, the contract page will appear. Once you see the contract that you are working on for your audit, you will select that contract. You will select view next to that contract. I apologize. You will then be taken to the contract management page. This screen will display at the top 4 tabs that are dedicated to the Pay or Play program. All employees who are working on the contract, again, must be entered into the B2G Now system prior. Please accept my sincere apologies. My computer froze up on me, kicked me out, so I had to log back in. I do apologize. I think I stopped off on slide 28, I'm sorry. And this is where you select your POP contract. You will select view on the left-hand side to open the contract that you are about to submit your audit for. Okay, you will then be taken to the contract management page. At the very top, there are 4 tabs that are dedicated to the Pay or Play program. Again, all workforce employees working on the project must be added into B2G prior to submitting your workforce audits. To do so, you will select the Workforce Employee List tab at the top of the screen. Once you select this page, it will take you to the employee list, and then you will select Manage Employees. In this tab, you will need to examine dates, update, and add new employees to your project for your workforce audit. On this page here, once you select the Add Employee tab, you will be redirected to the Edit Employee page. On this page, this is where you will add your employee's information. You will enter the employee's name. You will select yes to indicate that they are an active employee on the project. Please enter in the information where the asterisks are. And if you would like, you can submit their employee position as well. Once you've submitted that information, you will select Save and Return once you're on your last employee. If you're continuing to add employees in the system, you would click Save and New, and it will take you to another page to add your the additional employees. After you have added all of your employees to the workforce employee list, you must then assign those employees to the specific contract by clicking the Assign Employee Contract button as shown. If you cannot find an employee who should be listed on the workforce employee list, you will click Add Employee button, and then you will be taken to that list again for you to add those employees. In order to assign your employees to the contract, you will select the Add Employee tab. On this page, this is where you would assign your employees. There will be a box at the top that says employee name. Once you click that box, it will allow you to have a drop down where you can either select one employee at a time, or you can select all of the employees that you have added to work on the project. Make sure that you select the correct craft for each employee. So this means if you have employees that will be classified as exempt, you would need to select the exempt tab for that person. Right here in the next box where it says start date on the contract, this is the date that the employee started working on the particular contract that you are completing this information for. Please make sure you also select the yes button to make sure that you're notifying us that this employee is active on the project. Now, in the event you have an employee who will no longer be working on the project, this is the same page that you will go to mark them inactive, as well as put the end date that they worked on the project. Please note that the City of Houston does lack the physical capacity for Pay or Play program to do physical site inspections. So we have partnered with MWSBE compliance officers who furnish us with a copy of their on-site sign-in sheets from their visits. This is part of our verification process to ensure accurate accountability for all employees listed on the workforce employee list when they are on site. If a sign-in sheet is not provided to the MWSBE compliance officer, we may request for a copy of your sign-in sheet from the contractor for a particular day to ensure that our POP audits are completed comprehensively. Now we're going to discuss the paid weekly workforce audit submissions in B2G. To submit your workforce audits in B2G, you will select the tab at the top that says Workforce Audit List. Again, this is the tab for weekly workforce audits. Once you've gone to that screen, you will be brought to this page here, which shows the weeks that are being recorded for your weekly workforce audits. Please note that the days from to to cannot be audited or changed in the system. They are created and generated by B2G. The first set of boxes, lines that you see in the red box here that says Add Audit, this means that the audits have not been added. The system normally sends out weekly notifications to a paid contractor to let them know it's time to add their weekly workforce audits. But for any reason you have not received your audit, you are able to go into the system and select the Add Audit button, and it will add your audit into the system. This selection right here that says automatically accepted by organization, this means that it was auto-accepted. When you do have a contract that you do not have any work on for that week, There's an option also for you to select no work. In the event you see an area in red like this, that means that an action needs to be done. You can simply select the View tab to either submit your audit or view what needs to be done for your weekly audit. Once you've selected that, again, once you've selected the Add Audit button or your audit has generated, you will see that there is an incomplete line that's in red. That means that this weekly workforce audit is incomplete. To open this audit, you will need to select the View tab. Once you've selected the View tab, you will be redirected to your workforce audit for that week. On this page here, this is where you will see your weeks that you're reporting. You have the option to fill in the audit or mark it as no work. If you have an employee that is grayed out, then you will need to add them to the audit. If it is your first time submitting your weekly workforce audit, all of your employees will be grayed out, and you would just simply select add this to the audit, or at the bottom, you can select add all employees to the audit if there are a few, if everyone is being selected. Okay, this is the point where you start entering your hours. Vendors must enter both, again, the total hours worked and the hours worked for that week. Again, this column here is for the number of hours they worked for the particular contractor. This week here is for the week that they participated in any type of work on this particular contract. In the event that you have to make any notes on that audit, please make those notes in the box at the bottom. If this is your final audit, please check the box that says final audit. If there were no work done that week or there was not any participation that week, please check the no work box. But please also make sure that you upload your certified payroll to that effect as well. Now, during the closeout part of the project, once a contractor is no longer working on the project and they have completed their work, we do ask for you to please select the final box, which specifies to us that this is your final week. Once you've entered all of your information, you will select the review button at the bottom, and it will allow you to review the information that you've added. If you need to make any changes, this is the time to do so. You can select the edit button if no edits are needed, or if you need to obtain additional information to add to this audit. You can click Save and Certify Later, which will allow you to come back. Now, if you have completed the audit and you know that you're sure that you want to submit this information, you would click Save and Certify. Once you've clicked Save and Certify, it will take you to the page where you will need to sign off on who has completed the audit and release it to the organization. Now, we do ask that you utilize your own B2G Now login credentials when submitting these audits, because we do have the ability to see who's logging in as well as who's signing off on the audits. If the sign-in person who's completing the audit does not match the person who is certifying the audit, your audit will be rejected. Because again, B2G is specified for only personnel that are authorized to submit audits in the system. Once you've reviewed this page and you type in your name and certify that this is complete, you select Review. It will take you to the final page where you will select, I certify this information is true and correct, and then you will submit the information to the organization. Now we'll be discussing how to submit the place submissions. Again, you will go to one of the 4 tabs at the top of the page, and you will select Workforce Employee List. From the Workforce Employee List, you will see the list of your employees that you have entered into the system. At the very bottom of that page, there is a button that says Manage Craft Review. This is the button that you will select in order to upload your information for your quarterly workforce audits. Once that button is selected, you will be taken to the audit page. This page will display all of your employees that are listed as PLAY or exempt. These are the only employees that will show on this page. If you have employees that have already been approved for exemption, please make sure that you uncheck that person, because if you keep them checked, once this audit is approved, once this information is submitted, their approval will no longer be valid, and we would have to re-verify and approve that information in the system. On this same page, you would choose the button right here to upload your file. Once you select the button to attach your file, of course, it's going to open up a box for you to add those attachments. We do ask for you to select, if you don't have everything in one bulk item, so please select each item by holding down the shift button so that you can upload all items at one time. If that is not done, then all items will not be uploaded. Once you have selected all of the items you want to upload, please select Open. On this page, it shows right here that those documents have been attached. It tells you the number of items that have been attached. If you do not see the appropriate number, if you've uploaded multiple items, please check that button again and make sure you upload all items. Please specify in the comment section of the box which quarterly audit you are uploading. We do ask for you to check the box at the bottom, and then you would hit the Save button. There's going to be a button that appears at the top that asks you, are you sure you want to save and update the selected records? Please select OK. Once you've done that, a green box will appear at the top that says the selected craft review has been updated successfully, and you will select the small green box, the small green X in that box. Now, once you've selected the X, another box will appear. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to close without saving? But because you received the previous confirmation that your information was uploaded successfully, you would just select OK. This is how the screen will look once you have successfully uploaded your documents. So if you've uploaded multiple documents, there will be multiple hyperlinks that specifies exactly what you uploaded. And this is what we will see on our end when we're reviewing your audits. Each month by the 5th business day, we submit a compliance status report to the prime contractor. This report informs the prime contractor about contract noncompliance matters, matters that are pending, and compliance items. We kindly request that the prime contractor emails a copy of the compliance status report back along with their comments once they have made sure all non-compliant items have been resolved. Please note that to prevent any pay application delays received from the prime contractor and to ensure smooth pay draw requests, we urge you to promptly address any outstanding non-compliance matters to bring your contract in full compliance for POP. If you have any non-compliance matters on your contract when a pay application request has been submitted, your pay app will be held until all compliance issues are resolved. Please note, Housing Community Development does not retain payments for subcontractors, and we do not have the authority to hold your payments. We only have authority to extend the withholdment for prime contractors. Now we're into the final stage of the final POP review. During the final POP review, we do ask for POP vendors they should have submitted all POP required documents. If you have any approved POP 8 or POP 9 documents, this information should be loaded into LCP Tracker prior to your closeout. All workforce audit submissions and all paid invoices for each paid vendor must be paid in full prior to the closing out of your project. Retainage payments will be held due to incomplete POP workforce audit submissions or any unpaid invoices. We do ask you to please upload your start of work and termination of work notice into LCP Tracker in the appropriate file, as we do utilize that to determine when you start and end working on the project. So this also must be uploaded prior to project closeout. Once a prime or a subcontractor has completed their project, the last workforce audit again should be labeled as final in B2G. This will notify the POP liaison to mark the vendor as inactive on the contract. Now we're going into the frequently asked questions. Question number 1, are only employees working on the job site required to be listed on the workforce audit list, employee list? The answer is no. All employees who work on the City of Houston POP applicable contract, whether they're working on site or in the office, this also includes your 1099 employees, day laborers, must be included on the workforce audit employee list and accounted for during each audit. Question number 2, My employee has his or her own insurance and my company does not pay for it. Does this mean he or she needs to submit a notarized POP 8 form for exemption? The answer is yes. You should submit a completed notarized POP 8 form along with proof of healthcare insurance for that employee. This is the only time a copy of the employee's insurance card will be accepted. Email the form along with the required information to your POP administrative compliance officer for review and approval. Question number 3. I am a subcontractor on the City of Houston POP contract. My contract ends before the POP contractor finishes the job. Do I still have to submit POP submissions? No. Please upload your termination of work notice into LCP Tracker with the completed date your contract is completed, and make sure if you are a pay-elect contractor that you submit your final audit in B2G during your final week and mark it as final. Question number 4. Do apologize. It is glitching again. Are subcontractors required to comply with POP program if they are not MWSB or on Section 3? Yes, all subcontractors with professional service contracts, general service contracts, and whose contracts amount meets or exceeds a $200,000 threshold are required to comply with POP requirements. Do any of the POP payments benefit my company? Unfortunately, they do not. The POP program payments are deposited into the Contract Responsibility Fund, which shall not be used for any purpose except to assist in providing healthcare services to uninsured employees. For more information for this, you can visit the OBO website. Now we're going to discuss our additional resources. If you would like to request a copy of the frequently asked questions for Pay or Play, please email your POP liaison. A few of the questions that will be addressed on there is where should I submit my POP 1 through 3 forms, how to submit a POP 8, how do I submit my Play or Pay workforce audits, and how can I pay my invoices? This brings the POP program presentation to a close. Are there any questions in the chat box that need to be answered?
I haven't seen any at this time.
Thank you. Again, everyone, I apologize. I was having technical difficulties, but I do want to thank you for participating in the Contract Compliance Technical Assistance training today. We hope you found the technical assistance useful and enlightening. Our primary objective was to expand your understanding of applicable program regulations and standards, as well as provide you with resources and guidance to help you maintain 100% compliance on your housing projects throughout the duration of your project. Many topics were discussed during the technical assistance training, and the presenters all did an outstanding job of sharing their knowledge with you. If you have any questions for any of our presenters, please see their contact information in the chat box. Again, thank you for your comments and questions. We'd also like you to provide your valuable feedback for future technical assistance planning. Please complete the survey in the chat box. The link will be provided in the chat box. We will make sure that each survey is reviewed and considered to make future technical assistance trainings even more successful. I wish you the best of luck on your projects. Again, thank you for participating. Please recommend and encourage all future contractors, vendors, subcontractors, supplier, service providers, and compliance consultants working on all ACD projects to attend future training. Lastly, again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you on your ACD projects. I wish you all the best of luck and have a great day.